want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
It's not college basketball. It's Clarence time! Let's get ready to rumble! Feel the fire, sense of the rare. It's mice and only know how to wear.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Double A here, and just another Friday night, another Friday. No, I am not going solo. I'm waiting for my partner, CM Chuck, to arrive. We got a really fun episode for you guys tonight. Cheers to everyone.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Oh, what is up, Friday Nighters? Yeah, really great episode. Great intro there, Double A. Can we hear each other? Can we see each other? What's up, man? Great intro. Great opening.
Nothing much.
Thanks for letting me slide on in. Not necessarily uninvited like our favorite neighbor. But,
yeah, no kidding.
But yeah. Yeah, man. How was the week? How are things?
Super hot.
Yes.
But I was happy today. I found out Sandman is now streaming. So I got to see the first episode. I loved it. I'm probably going to binge watch tomorrow.
Yes.
My wife's going to be at a concert, so it'll just be me here, just in the dark, watching Sandman going.
Very nice, man. I'm trying to do the same. What's she going to go see? Who's she going to go see?
There's a freestyle concert.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah, at the Alamo Dome. So that's going on. And then Sunday, I'm probably going to watch Prey.
Oh, right. It's coming out on Hulu,
yeah,
right?
It's only streaming on Hulu, only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to bum your Hulu account to check that out. So.
Bum all you want. So I'm really excited about that movie. I'm really, really hoping. I don't know. Right now, the ratings are. It's the sequel we all needed. It's this and that. But you know how it is. The early viewings. You know?
Yeah.
I'm curious because it looks like it's set. You know, pre everything.
Yes, right. Like the Predator's first visit, kind of to.
And I see that he's still kind of cheating, using his advanced tech. You know.
Yeah.
Using his invisibility. I'm like, come on, man, really? Like,
yeah,
come on.
I mean, against like primitive like that, I'm like
very primitive,
kind of overkill, right?
He's got like the scope going on and everything. It's like the guys are using their eyes. You know, I was like, come on.
It's like playing basketball against a bunch of first graders and like still dunking and all that.
Yeah, it's like Anakin going up against the younglings. Come on now, come on.
Deep there, Double A.
know?
Dude. So Adrenalize, man. Anything else going on this week in the world of pop culture?
Let me see. We got Sandman. We got Prey. On the 14th, we got Tales of the Walking Dead coming up pretty soon.
Yes, I know. You've been excited for that one, right?
Yeah. It's an anthology story. It's not doesn't have, I don't think, a single narrative. I think it's just each separate story. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to watching that one.
I don't think it was too much big news. Oh, I guess if it is big news, the remake of Roadhouse.
Oh, right.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know if that is a big deal or not. Apparently Conor McGregor is involved too. I don't know if he's going to be playing the other dude, the other side of the fence. Mm-hmm. Apparently Gyllenhaal in this one is like an ex-UFC fighter.
Okay.
Instead of just like a bouncer, So
Ooh,
I don't know how it's going to be. A lot of people have reservations. It's one of those roles that's kind of like it's Patrick Swayze,
Right.
Does Gyllenhaal have that kind of gruff look? The intensity. I don't know.
He's been in boxing movies though, right?
Southpaw.
That's
Southpaw.
right. Okay.
Yes.
Did you see that one?
Yes, I did.
And you liked it?
It's a good movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
he's definitely bigger than Swayze for sure.
Yeah.
Because I was really surprised how small Patrick Swayze is.
What is he? Under 6 foot?
I think so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he wasn't that big of a guy.
Well, it's kind of funny because you mentioned McGregor's going to be in it, but it's not like he's like the biggest guy either, So
no, but he's more ripped, I guess.
Yeah, definitely in shape, and will definitely know his way around some fighting. So, hey, guys in a bar fighting it up. I mean, I'm down to see it.
Oh, damn.
Jack in the house is a Seinfeld episode without me. What the fuck? I'm crying here. You know what, Jack? Man, we had no idea.
Okay, so I
dude.
threw this at CM because CM is like the biggest Seinfeld fan I know. I mean, that was like a show under X Files. I don't know which was bigger, X Files or Seinfeld. I really don't know. And CM is like, hey, maybe we should call this guy and this guy. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, maybe maybe I should have.
The very first person I thought of was my dad, you know, and because I got him into the show and he loves it. I mean, the guy watches it on repeat. Jack says Swayze's 5'10". Yeah, it's taller than me, so but you don't got to be much taller to be taller than me. So, you know, and I was like, yeah, I've never had my dad on the pod. It might be interesting. I'd like to hear his thoughts or whatever, you know. And then, you know, I recently got asked. I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't know how many Tis the Podcast fans watch our show. But I was invited to do a Patreon episode with Jerry and Anthony. I don't know who else he had planned initially to have on. But we never got around to it. So I thought about them too. You know, Anthony's actually in New York, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia there for him, you know what I mean? So I thought of those guys. Then, like, you know, Friday Nighter Joe from Now Watch This always asks me, like, the day before, like, hey, what's the topic about? I think he wants to brush up. So when he jumps in on the chat, he can talk it up with us. And, you know, he was like, oh, man, like, you know, in Seinfeld, man, you got to have me on, man, like, blah, blah.
I know, I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
That's what you asked for. You were like, all these people are fans.
Yeah, I thought about, like, even switching this episode today because I was like, shit, there's a lot of people that might.
And you know what, Jack, it did slip my mind that you're such a huge fan too, whatever, because you're a fan of so much stuff. But it's one of those things, right, where like other stuff comes first. Like I always think about Jack with like Transformers, Back to the Future. Like those are the two biggest. You know, you kind of get associated with the thing you like those. But I know we've had numerous conversations about it. So
yeah, of course.
We screwed the pooch, maybe.
Well, like I said, for me, CM is the biggest Seinfeld fan. I mean, this guy was there in the thick of things in the 90s watching it. I mean...
Yeah, and I jumped on
while everyone of our family was still kind of like... well, everyone in our family was kind of like, oh, Seinfeld's stupid. Seinfeld's stupid.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember hearing that too. I can remember getting my friend Mark Robinson into it or whatever, you know, Adam Tonder. Dude, like it would be sometimes they'd be like, hey man, turn it on. It's this episode or whatever. We'd be watching like in syndication and just like laughing. And then I found this out too from, you know, my girlfriend Jess's boys. Her youngest and her oldest has started watching, I guess, on Netflix. And like we started quoting it to each other. And that was hilarious. I mean, you know, of course, Netflix gives stuff new life, right, Double A? As Jeremy commented right here, he just sunk like a stone.
Big time. It's kind of like, I think Friends even had a little thing going on there for a while.
Like a resurgence, right? Yeah. Jack says we definitely screwed the pooch.
Yeah, we did.
The proverbial pooch. Hey, you know what I got to say to that, Jack? These pretzels are making me thirsty. See that there? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, CM just has like a shitload of... Seinfeld merchandise.
Yeah, man. And for those of you watching us on visual, I'll get some of the stuff out of the way, but you got to get like the Funko Pop with Jerry and the puffy shirt.
Jack, if we're not doing anything, stay with us. I mean, we're gonna be talking everything Seinfeld or
Cosmo Kramer.
Do a Kramer and pop in over here real quick.
Hey, there you go.
Jack, if you're available, if you can, come on over.
Fusili Jerry, right?
You only live like a minute away.
Yeah, and then like when I got you know Double A, you're at work and stuff, so it's like sometimes I don't hear back from you right away.
Yeah,
so I got confirmation on Joe, and then Joe's like, oh man, I started recording his pod, and I was like, oh dude,
again, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, we have tons of subjects that we're all into. I mean, you know, Joe can easily fit on so many of these. You know,
and even then, I say this: if you can't be on and you can be on in the chat, great, because we love to have your comments in here. Your comments add to our show. That's why we do the show live, is we want to hear the interaction from the Friday Nighters and the Friday Night Faithful by you telling us like, hey, you didn't talk about this episode, or what about this, or what about that, or correcting us. Like, as Jack, I'm sure, was able to Google quickly Patrick Swayze's height, unless Jack has that tattooed on his forearm somewhere.
I mean, you know what? It's just, I didn't think he was that tall because he looks super tall on The Outsiders.
Yeah.
But then it was like, all those guys are short. Like, Tom Cruise is like 5'3", I think.
Right.
Needle was like 5'5". Right. I mean, Ralph Macchio, I don't think even grew out for right away. I mean, those guys are all short. So.
It's so weird when you do see like that and you realize like it's like kind of like the wrestling effect, right? Like those guys are all really tall, but amongst each other they're all like, you know, they don't look as tall. Yeah. You know, Sean looks like a little guy, but I've seen Sean at a gun show and he was towering over people. You know what I mean? So Jack, wish I could, but I have commitments now. I'll be here on the show. The way
Okay,
we
cool.
appreciate that,
Cool,
Jack.
cool.
We want to definitely get your thoughts and your, looking back on Seinfeld and why you loved it and when you started and anything else you feel that we need to address by all means. I knew it's hype because I remember looking at it and thinking he was telling the ice. Oh, just like Double
That's
A.
what I'm saying, yeah, because he's
just
towering
average.
over those
Right.
guys, but those guys are short.
Yeah, you're talking. I remember seeing Stallone's original Rocky shorts at Planet Hollywood, and they were so tiny.
Well, that was like another thing that I freaked out because I always assumed he was big. I always assumed that he was like about Arnold size. And then when I started seeing him, I was like, whoa, this dude's only like 5'8", you know, like 180 pounds. I was like, I bet we look big if we ever took a picture next to him, like how we do with the wrestlers.
Yeah.
You know?
What about Arnold when they showed that picture with him with Wilt and Andre?
Yeah.
And he looks fucking tiny. You're like, oh, there's guys that are big that are really big. Facebook user, we cannot see your comment, guys. I forgot to put it up, but I think it comes out automatically anyway at the bottom of the write-up. Click on
Just give permission.
Yeah, click on the link, StreamYard.com/Facebook. Give us permission to see your name and photo from Facebook. It's in the description I wrote up at the bottom. Scroll to the bottom and click on the little link there. But it's StreamYard.com/Facebook, and it's just give us permission to see your stuff there. Or join us via YouTube like Jack is doing. I know you guys all have a YouTube account too. So yeah, we kind of buried the lead there. I was like, or didn't bury the lead, that we're obviously going to be talking
That's
about
fine
Seinfeld tonight.
I think all the news got kind of blown like last week, honestly.
Yeah, there wasn't a
whole lot. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot.
Unless we missed something pop culture news-wise, and you guys tell us. So, yeah. Jack says, see him when you hear...
The word Seinfeld, what's the first episode that pops up in your mind? That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Not to be... cliche, but I guess the Soup Nazi episode, because it
there.
was so big.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's actually not my favorite, because as I rewatch...
No, but that's might be almost the definitive.
The most maybe so, yeah.
Maybe.
There's so many, man, that I think of. Jack, tell us yours in the comments. Do you have an answer for that, Double A? That as an episode you think of? Because I find myself referencing back to this show a lot.
Because that's the one that's always like on those best of lists. That it's always there. The Soup Nazi.
Yeah. I mean, but like the Yada Yada is so good.
That is true.
We just talked about the Bizarro World.
Yes.
I think I like that one maybe a little bit better.
That one's super funny.
Yeah, hilarious.
Super fucking
because again,
funny.
all the humor is so sharp back and forth. You know what I mean?
That was super fucking funny. I love that one. But that one maybe it's just because, like I said, it was always on the best of clips. It's always kind of like on the best episodes of the '90s. It's always that one. You know, it's always Soup Nazi.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, guys. So obviously, like I said here, we're going to go back in time and talk about Seinfeld. You, Double A, start off. Tell me what's your history with the show and how you got into it while I look up some stuff.
Well,
facts about it.
Honestly, it's kind of one of those shows where it's kind of like I had to move out. And because, it was called stupid in my house.
Yeah.
It was boring. That was the words being used. Boring, stupid, not funny. Those were the words that kept coming through. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to watch it. I leave. I leave the bird's nest. I get married to, my wife. My wife, like you, see him, loved the X-Files, loves Friends, loves Seinfeld. So I was like, okay, cool. I always usually watch whatever she watches. Like on Saturdays in the mornings, it's Roseanne or whatever's on, right? But she watched Seinfeld. It's like, okay. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. I was like, fuck it, Usually all the things my brother said sucks, I end up liking. So, they told me Macho Man and Roddy Piper were boring. I was like,
oh, that's wrong.
So I was like, oh, I like these guys. Like I told him, I was like, I actually like these guys a lot. Seinfeld, again, classic case. I watched it. I loved it. I fell in love with the characters, all four of them. I loved how you really didn't have to pay attention. You can watch any episode and it's just that episode where the story is like all you need to know. That's it. Yeah. It's cool to know the histories and all that, but you can just watch an episode and just be entertained by it. You don't have to worry about a narrative or anything. It's funny.
There's a lot of nuances to it, right? Jerry D joins us in the house. Jerry says,
real quick. Jack says Fiona's episode is the red dot, and mine is a cigar store Indian episode.
That's a great episode too.
Jerry says, hey guys, it's still early, so I got to do family time, but I wanted to pop in and say that Seinfeld was my jam. My friends and I would quote it the next day after a new episode. Then Jerry says the moops from the Bubble Boy episode, the yada yada, the shrinkage, and the commie Christmas episode, all classics. Anyways, have a great show. And Jack says, "Oh, hello, American Joe. Which way to the hamburger hot dog stand?"
Jerry, thanks so much for popping in, man. And great stuff, Jack. But you and Fiona's favorite episodes, man. You know,
Hey, Fiona too.
She's a little bit younger, right? So, and Jerry is a little bit older than us. Not that much, just a little bit. But it's like, you know, different, right? I can remember, like I said, like, not being into it initially because I was like, oh, this looks kind of like a grown-up show. Like I thought like it was like Mad About You, and I was like, oh, that looks like boring or whatever, you know. So
I
never
don't like Mad About You.
Never really gave it a chance. Yeah, it wasn't. I remember I feel like when it was in syndication, it was like always on. I was like, damn, they play this show a lot. You know
Ellen Hunt, 2-time winner.
One
time, whatever.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I said, but this show, you know what I mean? Like when I did start to watch it, I was like, oh man, like the comedy is like so smart. Like I know some people that aren't into it. These are people that I would say that they're like Family Guy people, not Simpsons people. You know what I mean? Like, they don't, you know, the humor doesn't necessarily land.
But you know what I think too? I think what helps me too is I'm seeing it like now in the 2010s, and I'm really enjoying it. Honestly, I don't know if I would have liked it if I was watching it in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it now at the age I'm at, I'm really enjoying.
It definitely hits harder really now. Yeah, like it hits in a different way now. But I mean, I can remember watching it in high school, just finding this stuff funny. And
I'm sure you did
Kramer
too.
Stuff,
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like Jerry loving cereal. You know what I mean? You know, Superman.
The
passion,
videos.
You know,
all the videos in the background, right?
Yes.
The VHS.
Yeah.
Recordings and everything.
So real quick, I just want to give you guys a little bit here.
While you're doing that, Jack says, I got Fiona into it, and now she's a big fan.
Oh, awesome, man. That's great. And I did the same thing for my dad, who thought it was dumb as well, that we started watching it, and he just thought it was hilarious. So what comes on Google, it says, 4 single friends, comic Jerry Seinfeld, bungling George Costanza, frustrated working gal Elaine Bennis, and eccentric neighbor Cosmo Kramer deal with the absurdities of everyday life in New York. The first episode aired July 5th, 1989, and the final episode was May 14th, 1998. Streaming right now on Netflix, guys, all 9 seasons. Apparently, there were also 2 unaired episodes. I don't know if you knew this, that were written by Larry Charles, who was like it was Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David, and then pretty much Larry Charles was like the third man in the involved there. And he is known for kind of creating a lot of like the Kramer nuances. Kramer wasn't a character that was really fully developed. If you watch the really early episodes, first he's not like different. The Kramer you know. Yeah. So Larry Charles felt like he could take the ball with Kramer and run, and that's where we get the Cosmo Kramer that we know. Because people know now Jerry Seinfeld based on Jerry Seinfeld, and Larry David, the George Costanza character is based on him. If you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm at all, I mean, it feels like you're watching Seinfeld. The comedy's that way. Greatly acted. Jerry Seinfeld obviously plays himself. He got this show in a time when like they were giving. Every comedian was getting a deal for a sitcom, and it's probably Tim Allen, it was probably Jerry,
like the Johnny Carson people. Probably, honestly, it was probably those people because I know Ellen had a show, and like you said, Jerry.
There's so many more that were like in that 90s that you didn't realize those people were stand-ups before, whatever, that got shows, So you got Jerry Seinfeld. Julie Louis-Dreyfus plays Elaine. Wonderfully, Michael Richards plays Kramer. Jason Alexander plays George. And again, the list of
golly, the who's who before he even got shows.
Yeah, I just forgot the other day the episode where Elaine's wanting to date the doctor, and I realized that it's Saul, Saul Goodman.
Oh, Saul, that one,
Bob Odenkirk.
Yes.
I know Elaine, the serial dater, right? Because she dated everybody, and it seemed like in the show that they all did.
I liked it though. Yeah, I like that they did that for all of them.
Yeah. And me and Double A just talking about it on the way over here, we kind of wanted to talk more about like the things obviously that we loved about it. Not going season by season, but
that'd be really hard. That'd be like a 5-hour
impossible. I'm sure it's out there. There's probably a whole podcast just dedicated to Seinfeld.
I've seen one by one too.
Oh yeah, I've seen so many TikToks recently that are like, and I think even that you mentioned it. Jack being here, Jack has sent me some where people will write their own scripts, like what would modern Seinfeld be like, and they kind of act out like things, like cell phones and apps and things like that, like that they would be talking about, cancel culture and all that, right?
Yeah.
Like, talk about it, right? These 4 people, Double A, are like, they remind me of Tarantino characters. They're kind of deplorable. There's really nothing to love about them, but you do love them. I mean, it's like
and that's actually what my wife Christina is. They're not good people.
They're not good people. Yeah. Jack brings up a point here. He says Kramer was actually based off a real guy named Kramer who was Larry's neighbor. Yes, I have heard that too. That guy actually did end up doing some of the stuff that was in the show, like the real Kramer tour and all that or whatever. I know that guy did that. But what I mean is like some of the other
the ticks, right?
Yeah, like the fleshing out of the character. I think came from
because it's way different. I was watching some of the earlier episodes. He almost kind of seems to have his shit together a little bit more in the early episodes.
Right. I think when the show starts, George is like a real estate agent or something like that, or a real estate guy. He works in real estate.
Yeah.
And then we just slowly see his quote unquote decline. But I mean, I think the job for the Yankees,
that was, but I mean,
him being unemployed was like the low point. But then he got like the Yankees job was like cush, you know what I mean? And the Play Now job was like kind of cush, you know what I mean? I was like, all right, he's not bright. He says it himself, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not bright. People think I'm bright, but I'm not. But it was like, dude, this guy's landing plum jobs, you know what I mean? Excuse me. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I watched it all through its syndication. I think my dad even owns he bought himself like the first like DVD box set. Yeah. It's not the really, really cool one. It's just like the kind of one stuff like the basic one. Yeah. But I know there was a nice set. This was available like at Walmart one time. It was like a $30 thing. It came with like the Fusilli Jerry. It came with the human fund cup, money for people, and it came with these cool the puffy shirt pin there, and it also came with some of these postcards. Of course, again the human fund, the soup Nazi.
No soup for you.
My dad bought that Funko Pop, and it's at my house, but I can't find it. These pretzels are making me thirsty, of course, like my shirt. And then this one is the Kramer and Newman's bottle and can recycling company from New York City to Saginaw, Michigan. So of course we know that episode where they're drinking all the mellow yellow. Top of the muffin to you. So it just had some cool little stuff in it I thought was neat. I'll never mail these to anybody. I'll keep these.
And visual, those were postcards?
Yeah, little postcards.
That's what those were.
Yeah, check us out. Well, if you're listening to us on Spotify, if you actually look at your phone, you can actually see us. You can see the video as well. And if you're not, pull us up on YouTube and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. You can check it out there too. So, yeah, I know I definitely wasn't watching in '89. Oh, you know what I mean? So I must have jumped in much later because I was already like it had to be like my senior year. So this has got to be like, well, the show ended and it says '98 or I remember watching the final episodes because I remember being I must have started maybe even earlier than that. Then it must have been like maybe like end of freshman, sophomore year when it was going live because I was watching it was coming on Thursday night on NBC, like the Must See TV, from what I remember. I remember being sad that it was going to end.
Oh,
I
was
like, man,
Mondays.
Why is he only doing that? Was it Mondays?
Was it?
I don't know. Did somebody say Mondays?
No, I thought it was Thursdays. I thought you did.
No. Yeah, but I remember being sad when it was like, oh, this is like going to be it or whatever, you know what I mean? And like, I was just like, what? Like, why would you end it? Like, other shows go forever. But he always had that, I think in mind, Jerry, was like, he didn't want to get stale.
Yeah.
So Jack's got some comments here, Double A.
He said Kruger's Industrial Smoothing was the most cush job George had.
Man, Mr. Kruger?
Yeah, I mean, the show's just like you said. It's really funny. The characters, there's just not really anything good about them.
Yeah, so
but I like them.
I was telling Double A about the conversation that I had with Friday Nighter and host of Totally Rad Christmas, who commented earlier, Jerry D, and also host of Tis the Podcast, Anthony Caruso. When we were discussing the Patreon episode. Anthony was saying how much he related to George, and he was saying, Chuck, I guess you're like the Kramer or whatever, you know what I mean? And then he was saying Jerry would be Jerry or whatever. And I said, I'm sorry, Anthony, I got to stop you right there, man, because from what I know of Jerry through our podcasting together, he's the nicest guy. I was like, he'd be like the Bizarro Jerry. Yeah. I was like, because I said, there's the other four characters are not, like we just said, they're kind of dicks. You know what I mean? Like, they all have their, which is like fleshed out in that final episode, right? They're really trying to hit that home. How did you feel about that end, Double A?
I was fine with it because I don't know. I'm seeing it at a much later date than everybody. So I actually thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious just because of what they did over the years to those people. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I can understand though why it probably pissed off a whole lot of people at that time.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't a happy ending for a lot of people.
Right.
I don't know what people would have wanted though for a last episode. I really don't. It seems like that is kind of like almost the perfect ending for this kind of show.
You know, because they go away for a year and then they're going to get to come back. What I did was right after I watched that last episode, because I told Double A, this is like my show now. I'm trying to think what I would look at before then it went off. I used to look at The Office when it left Netflix, and I was looking at something in between. I would kind of just put it on where I would watch as many episodes as I could until I fall asleep. But now that Seinfeld's on there, it's been Seinfeld, right? So I've been kind of doing my own rewatch, and if I get to the end, I just start over again, you know? So that's when me and my dad were watching it. I just pick up wherever my Netflix left off, and we were watching the final episode. So I was like, well, shit, I'm just going to go to 1 and watch the 1. The last conversation that Jerry and George have in the cell when he's like, you know what's wrong with that button, blah, blah. He tells him about the button, you know, and George goes, haven't we talked about this before? If you go back to the very first episode 1, that's the very first conversation they have, and he talks about the button or whatever, which I thought was neat because you know, I don't know that if you were watching live, you would realize or remember that, you know, because it's like
probably not
years, you know.
You know, that 70s show did the same thing in their last episode.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then I was like, I read something like that was the first episode.
Yeah.
So luckily, when I saw the last episode, the first episode came off. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, shit, they did the same thing. So I guess that was a Seinfeld thing.
Yeah, and some of the differences too, right? Like in the very first episode, no Elaine. There's no Elaine.
Yeah,
the coffee shop is different. Jerry's apartment is slightly different.
Yeah,
know?
it is. Yeah.
In the first season, he has a different dad. I don't know.
Yes.
The first season, or the first,
that's
not
right.
the first season, but first few episodes, it's a different dad.
Yes, I was like, what the hell? When I first saw it, I was like, what the hell? That's not the dad.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to some of those great actors that were there. Barney Martin played Morty Seinfeld for the bulk of the show. That's who we know and love as Jerry's dad. You know, we lost recently the great Jerry Stiller, right? We know the actor Ben Stiller's dad, but he plays famously Frank Costanza. To me, Double A, one of the most hilarious characters, right? You know, the manzier, the bro, you know, hoochie mama, you know, stopping short. Like, it ended up being one of those type of shows, right? Double A, like, incredibly quotable, memorable.
Golly, it set up new pop culture references, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. The yada yada, you know what I mean?
The double dip.
The double dip.
Right?
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a huge one that caught on. People say that now all the time. Yeah, so like another character that we kind of talked about on our way over discussing was like the Elaine character, you know, that she changed quite a bit from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah.
You know, as I was rewatching Double A, I was having a thought about that, and I was like, man, they always give Elaine like these like ugly ass dudes.
Yeah, they do. But you know what? I kind of like that because I think that's actually kind of normal. Honestly,
an average guy. Okay, good point. That's a good point.
I really do think that. I mean, you can't just be throwing like Brad Pitts all of a sudden, you know?
That's a good point too.
Like when it was funny when I started watching Friends, I was like, man, these dudes aren't really attractive whatsoever, but I remember them being shit hot with the females. I was like, but man, no, I was like, man, these dudes aren't really good looking at all.
I mean, that's like the birth of the dad bod in the mind of women.
It probably was, and you know, because I was like, well, you look at the other three are really attractive, but you look at the dudes, and I'm like, man, they're not really good looking dudes whatsoever.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't know. I just like it because I mean, Elaine is really I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I think she is pretty. She's really pretty.
Yes. I fell in love with her in the show, especially towards the end.
But yeah, I kind of like it because, you know, she's like an office worker, and you know, it's not like she's going to these clubs or anything, and she's probably meeting these dudes just, you know, randomly, you know. And I was like, that kind of makes sense, you know. I mean,
even her dress, right? The way she would dress in the beginning, you know, like the white socks and those the shoes that were kind of like the wingtip shoes, the black and white, and then these long skirts, you know what I mean? Her hair, that particular hair,
is super different.
Yeah,
in the early ones,
she becomes like a real fox by the end. I mean, like, and she was still beautiful in those early episodes, but it was just this very kind of like plain Jane look, you know what I mean?
And that's what I mean. I'm kind of glad that they kind of did that with all of them almost. Because like even George, I'm like, really, he's gonna get like all these like hot girls, like hot women. I'm like, no way.
He had
no fucking way.
Way too many hot women in that.
Like, this dude has no muscle on his body. He's bald. He has glasses. He's short. You know, I'm like, come on.
Man, he says it himself, right? It was like, I'm gonna do the opposite.
But you know what? Those two, when I was watching it, seeing those two actually became my favorite characters. I George is my favorite character because he's so consistently funny. That dude, I mean, man, a lot of the greatest hits are of that idiot, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he's just so funny. He like the shit he says where he's trapped in the corner, you know, and you're like, oh fuck, you know, where he just kind of just admits it, that, you know, he's fake. He's not this person, you know.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to be with that person. And then Elaine, I mean, man, she's so fucking funny, and like, she's almost like Jerry, but I don't know, there's something different about her wit than Jerry's, you know, and them two go back and forth so great. Jerry and Elaine.
Love that. Yes, I absolutely
Their back
love
and
that.
forths are really great. And you know what's great too? Is that each of his interactions with them is totally different. They're not the same. You know, the interactions between him and Elaine are different. Him and George are different. Him and Kramer are different.
Yeah.
You know, and they all talk different. You know, it's kind of like, man, I like that. I like how it's kind of not the same.
They did a great job of, like, you know that Jerry and Kramer are neighbors, but they're still, like, they've been neighbors a long time. But you also know that him and George grew up together because the way they talk. And then, you know, the way him and Elaine talk. That
well,
they
him and
dated
George
at
obviously
one
are
time.
the deeper.
Yes.
The deepest connection.
Because they
Him and
grew
George.
up together.
Yeah.
I think since junior high, they say. I remember that the point that I started watching the show, episodes would refer to Jerry and Elaine dating.
Yes.
And I remember when I eventually got to watch the rest, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see the episodes where they dated. Well, that doesn't happen in the show. In the show, it's already
already happened.
It's already happened. You don't ever see them being together, Jerry and Elaine.
Yeah, and then I just saw the episode 2 the other day where they talk about dating. They're talking about orgasms, about how the women fake them.
Yes.
And they actually talk about that. And they actually do hook up.
And she's telling him fake. He wants more time.
Yeah, like he's like, all those times you faked, and she was like, yes. And man, it's just like George is like laughing.
What a blow to the ego.
Yeah, he's like having a great time, and Jerry's like, no, you got to give me another chance. And it's like just so nonchalant, like, no, like it's a game. Like, you got to give me another chance, and they do. They hook up. I was like, oh wow, it's like the first and only time I've ever seen them. You know, where they got intimate.
They got intimate,
You know?
Which is funny because I remember the episode 2, the one we were talking about with Bob Odenkirk, where he's playing the guy she's trying to get to finish his doctorate. They stopped having sex so he can get smarter, but it makes her dumber.
Yes, I love that episode.
Yeah.
It's is it that one?
That's the same episode.
Okay, where George is not having
sex,
right?
and
or
he's having,
and he's super smart. She's not.
Yeah, he can't have sex because the girlfriend at the time has mono.
Okay.
So he's like,
and he's getting smarter.
Yeah, and Jerry's like, what the hell's going on or whatever. You know?
It's the reverse.
And Elaine shows up at Jerry's and she's like, you got 11 minutes? And he's like, and he's kind of thinking about it. And he's like, no, I can't do it. And she's like, well, you think Kramer's busy? You know, Kramer's home? And I'm just like, damn, that shit is like crazy, man. It's so hilarious. Jack has some comments here, Double A. What's he
goes,
saying?
the contest episode would not be okay today.
Oh, I agree, maybe.
But you know what? I don't like that, honestly. I mean,
it's a contest. And that you know what? That episode is also ranked in like the very famous episodes, you know what I mean? Where
you can kind of go back on any show pre-2007 probably and be like, oh, that's not okay now. Oh, that's not okay now. And it sucks when you have to.
And there is little stuff in there or whatever, you know, the episode where Kramer's kind of like, you know, the pimp, you know what I mean? At the end where they're having sex in the cars and he ends up in that pimp get up, you know? He's telling the chick, he's not hitting her, but he's like, you know, cool it, lady, cool it, you know? And the cops roll up. Like, that is all so smartly written because it's like one thing after another happens or things tie back together, you know?
It's just the comedy was different. The audience was different. I mean, you can say that about everything. The audience is just, it was different. Take shit seriously.
No, totally.
It was like those people were smart. The audience was smart. It was like, this is a TV show.
Right.
Ha ha ha.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I can laugh at that.
I would also say that the internet wasn't as rampant as it is now, where like everyone had a voice and you know, I always liked Jerry. I could relate to Jerry. I think that
Jerry's funny. He's actually, well, you know, I don't know who between him and Kramer, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I know that when I would sit around and watch episodes with my sister, she would see Jerry do things and she'd be like, man, bro, that's you. You're Jerry or whatever. And I was like, and of course I always related because of like the cereal eating and like the Superman love. And well, way back when I was watching this show, I was single, thin, and neat. You know what I mean? I was like, you know, not so much the thin part anymore, but, you know, Jerry says, you know, people often think that you're gay if you're single, thin, and neat. You know what I mean? So,
and that's just because he's a vegetarian, though, right?
I think he
I want to
is
say
now,
that there was
yeah.
somewhere where he just like he says he eats nothing but like salads. I was like, oh wow,
Interesting.
I was like, damn.
Interesting. You know what I noticed too, going back into the old episodes, speaking of stuff they eat or whatever, right? 'Cause remember, it was always a Snapple. He always had Snapple in the fridge.
Yes.
He drinks beer a couple times.
Yeah, there's a few times,
And
not too much.
I remember that. Even in the Man Hands episode, she's like, at least have some of your beer. And she like,
Yeah.
and he's like, twist off.
I love that
Oh,
one.
like, so hilarious, man. And what's funny about that episode, I had forgot, was that that's the same damn episode where George is using her picture to like
Yes.
get in with the hot women,
Yes.
you know? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, my fiance
the
Susan.
warehouse where they would pop in, right?
Yeah. And he's like, because he sees that chick that he's like, she's like a model at the front desk or wherever they go to. They go to use the bathroom.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
But you know, if I had to think of someone second, it would be George, because I also feel like I can relate to George being like,
That dude is
you
just,
know,
like I said, so fucking funny. He does not care that he's being an asshole. Doesn't care his asshole tendencies. I mean, just he loves it. I mean, man, he thinks it's funny. He thinks whatever he can do to score either a job or a woman, that's all. It's like it's all for him. You know, damn the other people.
you know, even in the early episodes, I think there's something going on with the apartments, right, or whatever. And then he's like, "Well, if you don't want it, Jerry," you know what I mean? Like that's totally okay. You know what I mean? That's totally okay because he wants it. So he's like trying to like coax whatever he wants to happen. But I also love the episode where Kramer has the intern. And Jerry comes back from the bathroom and he's like, oh, at which point Mr. Costanza reached into Mr. Seinfeld's glass and proceeded to wash up with a piece of ice. And right then Jerry's taking a drink and he's just like spits it back in the glass like, really, you piece of shit? I mean, who the fuck does that, right? You know what I mean? It's like reach in someone's glass and wash up with ice. That's supposed to be your friend, you know?
Jack chimes in. He goes, Frank and Estelle were casted phenomenally, by the way. Their loud energy matched George's.
Yes. Him being frustrated with his parents made a lot of sense, you know, when you saw, the Costanzas. Even too later on when we find out, that the Seinfelds don't really particularly care for them.
No, they don't care for him. Yeah, there's like an episode where like Seinfeld's parents want to move back to New York, and Jerry's like, oh no, and George is happy because his parents want to go to Florida. And I was like, man.
And we're gonna do a terrible job, guys, of naming the episode's actual name that it happened.
I tried naming some of my favorite ones and the seasons. Like one of the ones I saw today was Nose Job from season 3. It's called Nose Job.
Okay.
And the woman has like a big nose, but she's attractive. She just has a big nose, and George can't get over it. It's kind of like his Shallow Hal character, where he's kind of like he tells Jerry, he's like, look, I should not be the one saying this kind of stuff. I'm short. I'm not in shape, but it's her nose. It's big. And he can't get over it. And they're all sitting down or whatever, and somehow Kramer's like, no, you look good. You're really pretty. You're really pretty. And then Kramer goes, you could use a nose job.
Oh, that classic Kramer.
And all of them are like, oh shit. It's like you can't tell her. And then George does one of those things that you're just saying right now. He's like, well, everyone's getting a nose job. And you could look better, but that's only if you want. I'm not into things like that, but he's doing his shit where, he's trying to get her, which she does. And apparently she gets like a botched job. So like when she takes off the bandages, like she's trying to talk to George and George can't even look at her. He's like this like the whole time. Like, and she goes, you know what? This isn't working out, George. And like later in the episode, like they break up, right? Well, later in the episode, she has the procedure done. It's fixed. And she looks great. And George is like, wow, you look great. And she's like, yeah. It was like, I got a doctor that Kramer recommended.
Damn.
And he fixed me up. And then you see Kramer standing up and he walks out with her. I was like, damn, what the hell?
Man, classic. I need to watch that one. That one I don't remember that
It
well.
was season 3 under Nose Job.
I'm gonna check that one out again in my rewatch. And that's what happens during my rewatch. Like I said, I'll fall asleep and I don't know how many keep playing, and I just pick up.
The thing with Netflix too is like they're like 22 minutes, so it's like you blow by it without even noticing. You're like, oh shit,
Yeah. And I didn't do a hardcore rewatch for this episode because I didn't feel like I needed to. I want to come back real quick to Jack's comment about Estelle Harris, who plays Estelle Costanza, and then of course we mentioned Jerry Stiller, who plays Frank Costanza. I think we lost her pretty recently too, right?
Yeah, she did.
That was big news. That
both of them, yeah.
And again, I mean, they were kind of known primarily for this role. Those were their big roles, and so that goes to show you what the show did there. Jeremy says Festivus episode was hilarious. Absolutely love Festivus. The feats of strength, the airing of grievances. I know that a good friend of mine, Diane, she is a nurse, and she always posts every year on her Facebook about, it's time for Festivus. So I guess that's the closest, right, you get, right, if Jerry D was here to like a Christmas episode, because, well, Jerry and George are Jewish. And do we ever say about Kramer? They don't really... I don't think they ever really say.
I've always thought the way they presented him and everything that he was like...
And like
Italian, maybe?
Okay, maybe.
Just because the way he dresses and everything.
And that's kind of interesting, right? Because a lot of the things are ambiguous in that show, right?
Yeah.
About like what's what. Even the famous episode with Elaine dating that guy, she thinks he's a black guy. She's not sure, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you were Mexican or whatever." And she's like, "He's like, well, Benes or whatever." And she's like, "No." He's like, "Oh, so we can both go to the Gap?" She's like, "Yeah." So they're just like, "Oh, we're just two normal white people," So it's like,
oh, jeez,
it's like hilarious how ambiguous that is. I don't know. Earlier we talked about the contest. Could that get done today? I don't know if that episode.
I love that, and I actually have that one written down under season 3. It's the contest, and I was fucking laughing hard. I loved it. Okay, so his parents, his dad is of Italian descent.
Okay.
Michael Richards.
Okay.
So maybe
in there. Yeah.
Like I said, Kramer, there's like a whole lot. He's probably the one character that you really don't know
a lot.
We
didn't know his first name for a long time.
The first name, and then my wife today, she was like, "Did he ever say like how he gets money?" I was like,
as Jerry says, he's like, "Man, people should pay to be this guy. Fall ass backward into money, meet beautiful women, and like."
Because she's like, "How does he always have an apartment? How does he always able to live without a job?" And I was like, she thinks that he is a veteran that gets disability. That's what she thinks.
That's an interesting theory for sure.
But the contest, I loved it. The who can go on without having sex the longest, or masturbating.
Masturbating, right? Masturbating. Yeah. Master of your domain.
Queen of the kingdom or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, like it starts off with George and Jerry, and they're like $100. Who can do it? And then Elaine's like, "Oh, I want to jump in on this."
And they're like, "No."
Kramer jumps in. He goes, "Oh, I want this." Yeah. And Jerry's like, "You'll be out like before we even lay the money down."
Yeah.
And then Elaine gets in, but then George is like, they're all like, no, you're a woman.
It's too easy to not.
Yeah, it's too easy. You guys, you're not even interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to do it all the time.
Which is a valid point, right? I forget what they make her do. They make her put in more or something.
150.
Like that, right? Yeah, she has to
At first, George wants her to put in 200, but she's like, I'll do 150.
And how does it go, Double A? Who gets out first? Who goes out first? It's Kramer, right?
Kramer, bad. Like Jerry said, like, they're watching like some exercise studio or whatever.
Yeah.
In the window, and I guess, I don't know if you don't even notice, but like he leaves and then he comes back in and he's like, "All right, I'm out."
He puts the money in.
And they're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm out."
A classic Kramer, right? Jerry called it. And then I think Jerry's next, right? Because doesn't he have the neighbor that he's watching through the window or something like that? Something's going on with him.
No,
like
I think it's
neighbor.
actually Elaine. She's the one that's next. Yeah, because she pulls out the 150, and they're shocked. They're like, "What the hell?"
Something's going on with her and like John F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes,
I think, right?
Yes, they're at the same gym. Yeah, and she's like all smitten with JFK Jr.
Yeah, and then I think Jerry's second to last.
It's funny because like before she loses, like they show all 4 of them in bed. The 3 of them are like tossing and turning real bad, and the last one they show is Kramer, where he's like knocked out.
He's knocked out, right?
And that gets a huge response from the audience. Like people are like laughing hard when they showed him last, and so it was like next time they show him, it's Kramer's sleeping, Elaine's sleeping, but the other 2 idiots are still like tossing and turning.
Yeah,
and he's almost like Jerry's like gonna have sex, and with the chick from Frasier, the main chick from Frasier.
That's right. But she's a virgin. And
he tells her about the contest, like what's going on, and she's like, she gets mad, she storms off. I was like, oh man, that would have put Jerry kind of like more on easy street.
Yeah, he would have been on easy street
because it was just, I was like, no, they just talked about masturbating. Who would masturbate,
right?
So I was like, well, he didn't say anything about like sex to relieve the pressure. So
yeah,
I was like,
so you could have been in the clear with that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you're hooking up, And she's one of the famous characters that comes back at the end on that final episode to say like, these people are deplorable. They were having a contest, and they're like,
Yeah.
I forget how she phrases it because they don't say masturbate. She says something like, "Who could go the longest without pleasuring themselves?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she's like, "This is sick. It's all sick." And we find out she ends up hooking up with JFK Jr. That was like her.
Yeah.
She JFK Jr. is driving up because he's waiting for Elaine. He's gonna pick up Elaine. But then he's like, George says, yeah, he saw her crying and he picked her up, and at the end you see her like where he fucked her hard. I was like, oh shit, because she's like, oh wow, like she's all like, oh shit.
Yeah, leave it to the Kennedys, right?
Right.
Totally.
No kidding.
And they kind of come up a lot throughout the series. So they bring them up,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And later on, in that final episode, when the plane they think is going down, George admits that he cheated at the contest, and Jerry's like, "Okay, great, I won. Like we're about to fucking die." You know what I mean? And it's also funny because there's that moment that hangs in the air when, like, you know, Elaine's like, "Jerry, I have to tell you something. I've always felt this way," or no, she was I always wanted to say to you, you kind of think like, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna say I love you," right? And he's like, "I gotta tell you something too." She's like, "Okay, but me first." And then the plane rights itself, and then he goes, "What is it you were gonna say later on?" And she was like, she goes, "I was gonna say I love United Airlines." So it's like a kind of cool little moment because you're like, did they really mean that, or were they just gonna say it to each other because they were about to die? You know?
I don't know.
It's
because
funny.
they never really show that very often.
I think some people maybe wanted to see them be
Really,
together.
because I didn't really care
like,
for that. I liked the way it was.
I think if there was like a show like down the line, maybe it would have been okay. Not where they were at.
I liked it the way that they didn't hook up.
They were really sincere to themselves as far as not maturing. Like they're the most immature people.
Yeah.
You know? Like again, I think that was what they said. One of the premises was no growth, no maturing, no crying, and no hugging or something like that. That was like four of the cornerstones of the show. That wasn't going to be like, man, we ain't doing all that shit that everyone else is doing.
And I'm glad. I'm really glad they didn't.
It makes it truly unique. You know what I mean?
It does.
So they say it's a show about nothing, but I mean, like,
because I said, I would have liked if X-Files that they never had hooked up. I would have enjoyed the whole show if it was just them being partners.
The old, speaking of Terry Hatcher, old Terry Hatcher, Lois and Clark show, they said what killed it was when they finally got
married.
together.
Yeah, because DC wanted them to get married because it was going to be the same time as the comics. Mm-hmm. Jack comes in. He kind of summarizes the contest, what we're talking about. Again, the contest, season 3. Kramer wanted her to put 1,000 in first. It's Kramer first, Elaine second because of JFK and Jr., then Jerry and George, which we later find out George lied and actually lost.
Yeah. Joe in the house. Joe says, "My guys, I'm so sorry I missed out."
Don't be sorry, Joe.
Not
There's
at all,
be
brother.
More Fridays.
And you know what? I'm glad that what you did was record your pod, the great pod.
Yeah.
Now watch this, guys. They just dropped 2 episodes in like a week. So if you guys haven't listened to Now Watch This, go check it out. Sandlot episode was so funny. Love you guys back and forth about stuff. You know, especially little things like, you know, being dads. Like Joe's got a little girl and Lucky's got an adult daughter.
Yes.
That is not adult, but like, you know, she's, you know, a grown up, older, high school. She does dance, and Joe's got a daughter in cheerleading. So they actually have a moment where they talk about like where to get like plain white shoes and that they miss Payless. And I was like, this is like a really cool like dad moment you guys have in that episode, amongst all the funny shit that you guys talk about. Jason in the house says, "What's up, bros?" Jason, sorry we were a little bit late. I know I told you 7. It was more like 8. But you know what? You jinxed me because every time you asked me what time, I end up being later. So cheers to our new bros joining us. Again, the human fun, right, Double A? Normally drinking out of my Metallica cup, which is actually Double A's Metallica cup. But, man, that cup goes really hard now, especially after the Eddie Munson stuff. So.
Oh, man, yeah, big time. See, another one of my favorites. Again, it's under season 8. It's kind of a later one. The English Patient episode.
Oh, yes.
Man, oh, man. So and I think I like it more, not really. The Elaine parts are funny. Mm-hmm. I think I like it because of the Lloyd Bridges parts.
Yes, because he's Mandelbaum, right? And he's training Jerry in that one. Is that what it is? His parents hired Jerry to train her because what happens is that they think you're like, oh, you need a trainer.
Yeah, he can't do something. He can't lift something up. But it's really funny because Lloyd Bridges is fucking old, and he lifts something up, he blows his back out.
Yeah.
And he's still talking shit. Yeah, he's like, "You think you're better than me?" And he visits
Mandelbaum.
And he thinks he goes and visits him and sees him, in the hospital, and he's still talking shit to Jerry. And he's like, "Just wait till my son comes." And his son pops out. He's fucking old too. He's like a grandpa too. He's like, why don't you mess with someone your own age? He was like,
Yeah.
oh, you got a grandson? You know? And he's like, that TV, I can pick it up. It's all bolted to the floor. He throws his back out. So it's Lloyd Bridges, it's the son, and then the fucking the grandpa comes.
Yeah.
Lloyd Bridges is dead. He's like, oh no. And he tells him shit.
It's so
He's
much
like,
great
you think
stuff.
you're better than us? He throws his back out too.
And aren't they telling him to like lift up the weight or something? And Jerry's like, okay, and he's just like doing it, like, you know, like, all right. You know, Seinfeld was actually in pretty good shape, right? Because we see him a couple of times without his shirt on, and I'm like, yeah, the guy must have really worked out, you know. Plus, he did the tennis stuff and the one with Milos.
Yes.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
oh, look at Jerry, it's terrible. So comments coming in.
Jack, man, I love that one too.
Excuse
Terry
me.
Hatcher, man, at the time when she was a fucking 10,
Even when she comes back in that final episode, Double A, I was like, man, what a fox.
like,
man.
she looks great in that first episode she comes out on. Man, oh man.
That's why Jackie Childs is like, you did it, her?
Yeah,
He's like, they're real and they're
Oh.
spectacular.
man. She was amazing. Fucking hot.
Joe says, Lucky
Lucky's
and
said we're crashing.
hey, y'all gotta slide in like Kramer if you're gonna do it. So that's the rule there. Jason says, what's going on this weekend? Anything you know about Double A? Oh well, aren't you gonna go to something?
Yeah, but that's in Belton. They are having that Comic-Con here, the Thomas J. Henry one.
Oh nice. Oh, that's right. Huge.
Yeah, that is happening.
Where is that at though?
Freeman.
At Freeman. Okay, Freeman Coliseum. Jason, take yourself
Oh,
over there,
and
man.
then Jason says my birthday is Sunday. A big
Hey,
4-4.
happy birthday, bud. We appreciate it. You know what? I also want to say quickly, we got to give a shout out to some other birthdays that passed. Friday nighter, Adam Tandre had a birthday recently. Just yesterday. Yesterday?
Yes.
David,
Yes.
yesterday?
Yes. Mhm.
Yesterday, John Holt, Friday nighter, Holty Bear had a birthday. So happy
Special
birthday,
guest. He's
41.
been on here about
to
2
John.
times.
Three, I think, three
Three?
times.
Okay,
Smallville, the Stephen King. It's got to be more than that, I think.
I think it's only
Maybe
2.
those two.
Maybe
Okay,
two.
all right. We should.
You're probably more familiar with his wife.
Foxy Roxy. who's
She's
a
been
couple
on here a
episodes.
lot.
But happy 41 to John.
Yes, John. Happy birthday. I
Um,
hope you had a good day yesterday. Or if not, I hope you're having a good
Yeah.
celebration this weekend.
Our friend Adam's wife's got her birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday to Blanca.
Happy birthday.
And how about a new addition to our family?
Yes.
Also, it could be
Which-
on August 4th now, right?
Which it was her birthday too.
That's right. Her birthday,
August 1st.
Friday nighter, Allie. And good listener, Rich, her dude and new dad. So we want to say welcome.
New dad, new mom.
Yeah, welcome, baby Zach. Welcome to the family. Another August 4th, so we love having you. A Leo, right?
Another August.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know the
Another
Leos, man. You got to watch out for them.
This Sunday we got Friday Nighter Ruben.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
His
Friday,
birthday.
Ruben. Happy birthday, Ruben. Damn, we gotta do like a birthday. We gotta do like Lucky when he does the birthdays on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Celebrity birthdays.
Yeah.
So those are the Just Another Friday Night birthdays right there. I also want to say, about Baby Zach, the only owner of the only Just Another Friday Night onesie in existence. I mean, there's 2 of them, but he owns both of them. So we can't wait to see pictures of him in those for the podcast. And additionally, I know that now watch this. Those guys are known for saying we're nerds, but we're not fucking nerds. Well, Just Another Friday Night is the official home of fucking nerds. So from Double A and I, cheers. And again, Jason, big happy
Jason,
birthday.
have a
bro.
good
44, that's
yeah,
a big
have
one,
a
man.
good birthday Sunday.
Yeah, I'm doing 41 this year, so that'll be fun, I guess. Oof, I know. Jack says,
Oh, yeah.
Double A, you got this one?
Yeah. He goes, the library episode is another one of my faves. Bookman, the library company, I would say he got the biggest pop for a non-main character in the exchange he did with Jerry in Jerry's apartment.
Man, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, Bookman. He also comes back at the end of the final episode to talk about Jerry's late fees, to which the crowd, the court is aghast at this long time without the
Which
returning
that
the book.
has a great ending too. So he's trying to remember what the hell he did with the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like going on and he's like, man, I was dating some chick. Maybe she'll remember. He gets her in the restaurant. She's getting everything wrong, everything, the suit, everything that's wrong. He's like, damn. And then something pops in his head. He's like, George, I gave it to George so he can return it. And he showed George he's being bullied by the fucking basketball coach.
Yeah.
They're giving him a wedgie.
Yeah.
Well, at the end,
Can't stand you.
Yeah, can't stand you.
Yeah, can't stand you.
Well, apparently he sees him where he's like a bum or whatever, the coach. And he goes that he went to go confront him or whatever. He was walking away when he felt an atomic wedgie going on. And it
That's a
ripped.
fucking
It was so
coach, man.
hard that it ripped his underwear out.
Man, those scenes are great, right? Don't the flashbacks they put like hair
Yes.
on Jordan, and he's like,
Yes.
ah.
Yeah.
He's fucking
And
screaming.
it shows the coach at the end
Yeah.
where he's saying can't stand you, right? He
Yeah.
starts laughing. Well, the book's there.
Tropic
The
of
fucking-
Cancer.
Yeah.
Hey, he's asleep with it. Yeah, I was like, and that's the cool thing about this show. It's like you don't really want to miss any parts of it. Like you said, you can do other
Yeah.
stuff. I think we do feel that way though, because like I've seen the episodes so many times. But as I did my most recent like rewatch, you know what I mean? Like I was hearing so many things that like my dad says all the time, and I was like, sometimes I'm like, where the fuck is he getting that from? And I'm like, oh, I fucking forgot. My dad will always say, you know, he'll always say like the Mandelbaum one. He'll always say can't stand you. He'll always say, is it Kasha? Is it Kasha? He's always talking about Kasha, and I'm like, and I forgot that was fucking when George's dad's like cooking and he's in his apartment. Dad always says, my dad always says, don't touch Jimmy. You know, he's just like always runs. And I'm like, we rewatching, I remembered a lot of those, but I had kind of forgotten some of them. And I was like, that's what the fuck Dad's talking about. You know, some of those more nuanced moments. Great pull, Jack. Jack, man, they recently had, I think it was at Tandem, the Tandem coffee and coffee.
Yeah.
They always have trivia, and they recently had Seinfeld trivia.
Yes.
And you know what? I didn't go because I was like, I'm not that good. Like I would.
You probably wouldn't know.
But Jack, next time there's fucking trivia, and it's something that I know, you know, I'm taking your ass. And you're gonna go. You're gonna, you know, get the wife to watch the baby, and we're gonna go do trivia because I know you'll kick ass. Because his memory is a lot less cloudy than mine. So, but what else you got for us?
But like, yeah. So in The English Patient, though, it's funny because like that movie, for whatever reason, was I guess big that year.
It won the Oscar.
Yes, and
it was one of the movies that everyone was saying exactly like in the show. You gotta watch. I still have not seen that movie.
I haven't either, and it's one of those 3-hour epic movies where it's like, you know, Ralph Fiennes, I guess, is a burn victim. He's telling a story of a love story. But
he crashes in a plane.
well, I love it because like Elaine's like trashing the film. She's like, this movie sucks. Like,
Yeah.
this movie's boring.
She wants
And
to watch
everyone's
Sack Lunch.
And everyone.
Fucking Sack Lunch. I was like, there was always bad movies, right? There's like, man, remember Prognosis Negative.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it though because she's probably just saying what a good majority of the audience is.
And what's
saying.
the boyfriend saying? He's like, he liked it, right?
Well, it's like it's the boss too that wants to go see it, and he makes like Elaine go too. I forget which boss it is at this
Mr.
point.
Pitt?
She has like two big ones, like two big bosses.
Yeah,
I forget which one it is.
it's
though.
Jay Peterman and Mr. Pitt. I feel like she did have another.
There's like a few
There might have
iconic.
been another one. Yeah, I
bosses
think those might have been
that she
her
had.
two iconic bosses because George obviously had Steinbrenner, who the voice is Larry David.
Which I read that Steinbrenner loved it.
Did he really?
Yeah,
God,
he
that's fucking
loved it.
awesome to hear, man. And now that I go back and watch this, when I hear Larry David, I'm like, oh yeah, it does sound like him, whatever. And
Okay,
he's like,
I can hear it now.
The other day, we go to Goomba's Pizza over off. That's the name of the pizza place.
Yeah,
No,
yes, it is.
No
Yes,
racism
it is.
here.
You can look at it.
That's what it's called, Goomba's Pizza.
Yeah,
it's over off of
Gomba.
yeah, off Blanco Road, right?
Yes.
We go, right?
Yes.
And right away, my dad gets there and he's like, why don't you get a calzone? He's like, I smell that calzone. Gotta have it. The meeting's over. Meeting's over. And I'm laughing so much. And I fucking ordered one. I was like, I'm going to get a calzone because it's fucking hilarious.
Check this out. So Jack says he's down for your trivia.
There we go.
But he also says, I have a Seinfeld trivia game I've yet to open because no one I know cares for Seinfeld. Let's meet up sometime and play.
I want everyone here
Wow.
that was going to potentially be on
I
this
know,
podcast
right?
together.
Yeah.
We're going to get Jerry and Anthony on Zoom and have us a Zoom version
but
of this
notice
game.
how, like Jack said, it's like that's what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Like,
You know
it's
what?
stupid.
You know, do you remember the old game, AA Seen It? And it was cool
Yes.
because you would play
Yes.
it with like a DVD and it would like play clips of the movies that went with the cards. I bought a version of Seen It specific to Seinfeld. Never got to play it because nobody, just me and my dad knew it. So it was like, it just sat there. I think I still have it in the closet somewhere. It's like, no one ever plays it.
Jack says Lippman was another one of Elaine.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Double A, finish up about the English Patient though, because I love this episode because I remember that these ladies are judging her, right, for not wanting to see
bad,
it.
real bad.
And then the fucking boyfriend goes with them to see it again.
Yes. I was like, damn, man.
Talk about a not two-time watcher, Double A. I'm like, you know, like, we always talk about that. I'm like, I've seen Schindler's List once. I'm like,
that's good
I'm
enough
good.
for me.
It was a very good movie. I
Yes.
do not desire to watch it
Yes.
again, you
No.
know. But I love it because she goes to see Sack Lunch by herself, right? She's like, ooh, one for Sack Lunch. And I'm like, man, that movie looked like shit.
I like it too because there's like another episode where they're like all dying to see Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is like
nice.
considered one of the worst movies of all time. But they're like Jerry's like really worried about missing it. You know, it's just those kind of like stupid episodes. You know, it's just like it's something like that. You know,
What was the movie, Double A, that they went to go that they wanted? They were all going to go see together, but then Jerry ends up going by himself.
I think it might have been Plan 9.
Was it that one?
I think
no,
so.
no, because later on, George says, "I thought we were gonna go see." It's like, no, I'm good. I don't want to go
I
see.
can't
this.
remember. Jack, if you're still there.
Yeah, I always remember Prognosis Negative because we're trying to see that. I also remember Sack Lunch. I remember what the fuck was the other one, man? There's another one that I remember. I was like, what the fuck? These are the worst movie titles.
Yeah,
they're like all dying to see. Oh man, where Jerry's a bootlegger, Death Blow.
And I have that one.
Yeah.
I have that one. It's season 8. It's called Little Kicks. So there's like two main stories. Yep.
Yeah, when Elaine's can
Yep,
dance.
it's Elaine's dance and the bootleg movies.
Yeah, when Jerry, I'm not doing it unless I get 3 cameras. And that guy pulls a gun on him. You know, that's
Yes,
a pretty
he does.
intense little scene. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
but
you know?
it's funny because it's like all of a sudden Jerry wants it to be professionally done. And see, that's where I get the vibes from him from you.
Oh, okay.
Because it's shit like that, like where he's like, he doesn't want to do it, but then when he gets into it, he's kind of like, okay, I need a camera here, I need a camera there.
As we produce this show and have lighting and shit like that, right? Like, Double A's like, what the fuck? You know? Dude, I love it too. But you know, this guy is like a shady character, right?
But he doesn't care at the end. He's like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like, pretty much, I'm not gonna sacrifice like poor quality for,
Right.
for this kind of shit.
I love when Jerry is like, when he first meets him, and he's like, and then that guy fucking breaks out like a
Yeah,
big ass bag
yes.
of like hard candy, right? Which I'm like, who the fuck eats hard candy? Like a mixed bag of it. And what does Jerry say? Some feedback I recognize. He's like, I brought it for all of us. And then he's like, oh, my stomach hurts. He's like, well, you ate that whole bag of candy by yourself. Like, I'm like, man, like, this guy already showed him a gun. He's still fucking is saying shit, you know?
But
I
I loved it because
finish
I
the
was like,
movie.
man, it's the bootleg. It's the start of that shit.
Yeah.
The whole, filming and everything.
And then I love later on, he's like, you know what I saw? I was on the corner of this street, and I saw a little boy. He was getting a bootleg copy of Death Blow, whatever. And he said it was the best he'd ever seen. That's who I'm doing this for. I'm like, what the fuck? Again, deplorable actions
It is,
that
but
are
it's
like,
he wants it to be great though. Still.
yeah, exactly, man.
And then it's funny because you see Kramer, he's trying to do it, and man, he's just like, he's going like this,
Oh
like
my
that.
god,
I'm like,
laughing,
oh.
talking to the guy next to him. I'm like, dude. When Jerry tells me, he's like, I can't give him this. He's like, come on, we got to give him something. He's like, this kind of guy. He's like, no, I'm not gonna say I shot this. I could do better than that, you know. It's just so asinine. A lot of it is like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is the point of this,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know what I mean? But again, it just ends up being funny, you know.
John in the house. We were just talking about you, John.
What is up, Holtzy Bear?
What's up, bros?
We hope you got to see your birthday wishes. Happy birthday again, brother. Welcome to 41. I don't know. I'm not there yet, but later on in about a month or so. Jesus.
Yeah, and then, man, that Elaine dance has just gone down to be super iconic.
Super iconic.
I don't know if that was her. That was all her way of doing it, or whoever set it up.
I remember too because she's losing the respect of her workers,
Bad,
right?
real
And, like,
bad.
she thinks it's because of George, because he's like
yeah,
the cancer.
because of George. Yeah,
And at the same time,
That's right.
that subplot's going on. He's the bad boy.
That's right. Yeah, and see, that's what's great too is that they can all hang out like that.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love that New York Yankees jacket he had,
Yeah,
man.
that was a great
I was like,
jacket.
that's a
Yeah.
badass jacket, and he's the bad boy. And I love when she looks in the car. Man, that chick was gorgeous.
She was, and she was getting hornier like every time he kept like doing stupid shit.
Yeah, she's like, nice car. He's like, yeah, that's right. It's a whatever big blog. And then she's like, is that your orthopedic back pillow? He's like, maybe. He's like, he doesn't have an answer. And then I love when he's in jail, he's fucking all scared. This is like because Elaine's like the mom, right? She's
Yes.
like running up.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you doing with him? Which is making her more fucking horny, right? Like for George. And then she's like, you're to stay away from him, blah, blah. And then later on, she tells him what a good guy he
Yeah.
is.
And that's
And
what he's
George
like,
is
no.
like, pick up the phone, Elaine, pick up the phone. But I love that last scene because they're there at the jail, right? She's there to get her. Elaine's there to get the worker. George's dad, Frank is there to get him, and she's like, this is like your son's fault, blah blah. He's a bad influence, whatever. And he's like, you're talking about my son. Like the one time he defends George, right? He's like, you want a piece of me? Yeah. And she's like, you got it, and they like actually run at each other, which is like, what the fuck? And that's where the episode freezes. It's so hilarious. I'm like, imagine this old man fighting fucking this young woman or whatever, and she tells him something too. I can't remember what her line is back to, but she tells him something smart ass too. It's so great. Holty says, thank you guys, appreciate it. Yeah, man, of course.
And that reminded me too. Going back to the contest, the one who can see who can go the longest without pleasuring themselves. I laughed hard when they said that the mom, or he comes up with it. It's like right at the beginning. He was, my mom, she caught me touching myself, and she ran and fell or something. She hurt her back, and and he goes, I didn't know either to run or zip up first. And he goes, so what did you do? I zipped up first. and then he goes and she's berating him for what he just did, and that he needs to go to therapy. The hot nurse on the other side, starts sponge baiting like the hot female patient. Yeah, and he's like looking at the shadows, and he's getting like super horny.
And he's going to visit the mom more to see the nurse because it's two women. Yeah, and she's sponge baiting the other women. And I remember like at one point, she tells her, she's like, "I walk in and see you treating your body like an amusement park." I'm like, what a great way to fucking phrase that.
Oh man, and then there's another one too. Man, which one is it?
I love that just a lot of the things come back,
I can't remember the name of the episode, but there's an episode where George walks in. It's like at the beginning of episode 2. And he goes, I gotta go use the restroom. And he comes back out, and his button shirt is all untucked. Mm-hmm. And he's buttoning the shirt. And Jerry and Kramer are both looking at him like, what you doing there? Yeah. He was like, I went number 2. Yeah. He's like, well, why are you buttoning up your shirt? He's like, take them off. I take off my shirt. I'm using the restroom. He gives me more freedom. And I start laughing.
Oh, yeah, you need a lot of, gotta get angled in, you know what I mean?
Jerry's like, you take off your shirt while you take a shit.
Probably AA, maybe like you would say, like they call them the New York Four in that final episode or whatever. But if there was a 5th member of that crew, it's got to be Newman, right? You know what I mean? Newman, Wayne Knight. You love him from Jurassic Park, but he's a dick in that. And I don't know, how do you feel about Newman?
I like it.
I have a love-hate with Newman.
I love his character because he's a dick with Jerry, but he's such good friends with Kramer, and them two are always getting into stupid shit together. I like Newman.
Yeah, I love Newman, man. He's like, again, a guy with his own agendas, a deplorable character.
What was it, CM? He's got fleas, right?
Yeah.
And Jerry's kind of like going on and on about how, it must be good, not itching or whatever. And you just see his face and he's sweating. And he's like, he starts itching his body all over.
And then later on, Jerry gets fleas, whatever, and he's like, it was Newman.
That's right.
Because they find the rappers.
That's right,
Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, fucking Kramer has over this guy Jerry doesn't like. He's eating and stuffing rappers in his couch. That's some shit that normal people would fucking be fighting over. You'd be beating somebody's ass if they brought somebody you don't like to your house, let them eat in your house on your couch, and then stuff the rappers in your couch. That's fucked up, man. I'm like, dude, I don't think AA would let his own brothers come eat his house and shove shit in his couch. Oh, no. I'm like, do you lose your fucking mind? Like, dude, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, Jerry, sometimes I'm like, dude, you let them just get away with fucking murder, man.
Yeah,
like,
real bad.
Dude, a lot of times when he's having a talk with the woman and they come in and they're just there, you know what I mean? I'm like,
they just all come in.
A lot of times because he's like, I'm in the middle of something, I'm with people or whatever, and I'm like, but also too, Jerry, lock the fucking door, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck, dude? You live in New York. I know it ain't that safe, you know? What else you got, AA? So Newman, great character, man. So much funny stuff.
Yeah, so I got the one, season 3, The Keys, where he kind of finally has enough. Speaking of, he kind of finally has enough of Kramer just coming in. And they show like a couple of like series of like incidents where Kramer's just showering in his fucking tub. He brings a girl over and there's Kramer with the chick that he just had sex with. You know? I mean, just walking in, eating his food, drinking his stuff. It's just coming in whenever, I was like, man, he
Kramer
Kramer
was
was nothing.
amazing.
He takes the key away.
I mean, surely the show played it up, whatever. But imagine, like Jack said, if this is based on like a real guy, can you imagine even a minimum of some of that stuff? Always coming over and eating the food. Remember the episode Double A where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start paying. I'll put a jar or whatever." You know what I mean? I'll start, and then he's like, "What's this? You bit this fruit or whatever." He goes, "Oh, that's your part, Jerry." He's like, no. When you bite the fruit, you bought the whole fruit. He does it with the can of soda. He's like, "Oh, that." He goes, "You left half a can of soda." He said, "That's your half." He goes, "No." He goes, "You know that sound a soda makes when you open it? That's the sound of you buying the whole soda." I was just like, dude, shit like that. I mean, I say that stuff. I tell my nephew sometimes stuff like that because he'll like leave half of something. I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't want that part or whatever." I'm like, no. Is the whole thing or no? You don't just be leaving half laying around.
And you know what? That might have been kind of like a first too, honestly, because there's like a lot of shows. Like when I was watching Friends, they all walk into each other's places and they drink and eat wherever their apartments are.
Right.
Big Bang Theory is kind of the same thing. They all come in, drink Leonard and Sheldon's stuff. You know, I was like, maybe that's kind of like a first thing because I don't remember.
Yeah, and
people coming in and just kind of treating the other person's house like it's their own.
Yeah, they eat and drink quite a bit in the show too, which is kind of like that was one thing that they showed.
Yes.
A lot of times people will go to the restroom.
Yeah,
they don't say it; they just go right.
Yeah.
And it's like that was the thing that I think they said was kind of new about this show because like
before that people didn't go to the restroom. Yeah,
and they just do it like whatever, you know. Remember in that one episode where George is like gonna go pee with the doorbell, he goes, "Whoa, what do you think you're doing here?" You know what I mean? How about that? What do you feel about that? Double A, how Jerry was so, nuanced about little stuff,
man, bad. Real bad.
He's like throwing away that belt. They're like, "Why are you throwing away that belt?" He's like, "Oh, the buckle touched the urinal or whatever, so it's over for that." Like, he would do some stuff that was really like that, but then he would do other stuff. When he drops the chick from Sex and the City, he drops her toothbrush in the toilet.
Yes. Yeah.
He gets it out. And you're thinking like, "Oh, Jerry's like a germaphobe. He's not going to put his hand in the toilet." But he also doesn't want to like be guilty or something. You know what I mean?
I think that kind of outweighs it for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what a dumbass. You could have just left it in there and been like, "I'm sorry it happened," or whatever,
just,
know?
Yeah.
But the whole thing too, he doesn't want to use someone else's toothbrush.
Jack says, "Okay, I'm back." The episode Kramer said he was glad to be free of the keys because it was like being on vacation going to Jerry's. Better food, cleaner place, etc.
Yeah, later on when he's like, "Oh, the office of Kramerica is Jerry's apartment." He goes, "Oh, he's on line 1." He goes, "Oh, Jerry, you're line 2, whatever." I'm like, man, what the fuck, man? It's like just a total taking advantage of, you know what I mean?
Oh, man, big time.
But again, Jerry allowed it, right?
The Chinese food episode where they're waiting and waiting for the fucking table and George is waiting for a call.
That's one of the most, I think, iconic, like where it ends and it's like they get called. You're like, it's like oh, like it would end that way. I always remember, do you remember the episode, Double A, Jack, you're here now. I know you don't remember any of the other Friday Nighters listening, if you remember this. When someone gets a picture of something that says Costanza in Italy or whatever, and George's dad's like, "Oh, it could be my long lost brother," whatever, Carlo, right? You know what I mean? So I think I can't remember exactly what happens at the end or whatever, but like it is his brother, or whatever. He's like sweeping up or whatever, and they're like they find out that it was like fucking George's dad's long lost brother, or whatever. But they don't have them meet up. And I was like, damn, it would have been cool if something happened like right after that, like he goes inside and then the dad shows up. I can't remember exactly, but I remember being like, that was fucking super hilarious. Lucky the Dork Dad joining us via their YouTube Dork Dad podcast. We appreciate you being here, Luck.
Well, Joe says that he goes, "Boys, we're on."
Hey, we appreciate it, fellas. Great stuff, man. Joe says, "Is it Festivus? Festivus for the rest of us." Joe, for sure. Lucky and Joe, tell us about your experiences with Seinfeld. Did you always love the show? Did you get into it later when you got growing up? Obviously, this was all going on when we were all in like probably our high school years. Even you. You know, right? You would have already been by
middle school.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we would have all been, you know, like again, I didn't realize it would start in '89. I mean, in 1989, I was into fucking Batman, and that was it. You know what I mean? Like Michael Keaton Batman was the shit. You know what I mean? So, patch us in. I don't know that if I can patch you guys in, I'd have to send you a link, but I can try to do it.
Joe goes, 99.
Yeah. So definitely that. Let me see what I can do here for you guys. But go ahead,
Lucky says he never seen a full episode.
Yes. Now, this is something that I've heard on y'all's show is that one of you is a fan and the other one is not. And I wasn't sure which show it was, but now I remember that it was Seinfeld. But what about you, Joe? What was your, do you have a favorite episode, character that comes to mind?
Joe says, "Don't tell Don't say Keaton to Luck. He goes crazy. Jack says Giuseppe Carlo Costanza from the Daw episode.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. My brother Carlo, and then she's like, "It's not your brother," or whatever. And then I think we find out that it is like his brother, because he's saying something in Italian along the lines like he lost his brother too, you know. So you're like, "What the fuck?" Just one of those like, again, there's like a lot of like, I guess like irony in the fucking show. You know what I mean?
Real bad.
But Joe, do you have like a favorite episode, something that you know that stands out to you that you remember particularly about?
You know, and this is kind of like another one I'm bringing up that's kind of famous, the yada 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 episode.
The yada yada.
What I love more, I think, about that than the main story is the Bryan Cranston. He's the dentist.
Yes, he's Tim Watley, and he's several times he recurs that role.
But
I had forgot that it was damn Bryan Cranston. So I saw his ass.
He gets converted to being a Jew.
Uh-huh.
And he starts cracking up Jew jokes, which Jerry finds very offensive. Him being a Jew and him pretending like he is Jewish. You know?
No, remember they asked Jerry, they're like, "Oh, Elaine says you find it offensive as a Jewish person?" And he goes, "No, I find it offensive as a comedian."
As a comedian. And I just thought it was hilarious because like he goes to a Catholic church. he doesn't know how to do like the whole thing, so he sits like
down.
and the priest tells him you gotta kneel.
He's like,
okay.
that's a kneeler, right? And he's like, "Oh, okay."
And then he says something like, him being a Jew, he's like, "Oh, we're not all perfect."
The Catholic priest tells him that.
And he tells him the joke that Bryan Cranston had told him, and he starts laughing. And I think it pisses out Jerry.
Yeah, he's like, they're old jokes. And he's like, Raquel Welch and there's the buoys. Like they never say the whole joke, but the priest starts. He's like, "Give me a minute," and he starts just laughing. Or whatever. You're like, "Oh, what the hell?" Like it's crazy. And again, so the writing is so tight, man. It's like there's like because to have like. There's no like beats and like there not being a punchline. No. Something's always going on.
And then what's funny too is like because my wife was watching that one with me, and all of a sudden like when he's through, like George pops up. He's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like he went looking for Jerry. Like he probably fucking traced him to the church. I was like, "Damn." And then at the end, Bryan Cranston finds out he's been talking about it, and he's like, "Oh shit."
Joe says, "Well, I'm coming in like Kramer." Joel says Pimp Kramer. We mentioned that episode. Great episode. Again, a lot of intersecting things happening in that episode. Jason says, "Good night, bros." Jason, good night, man. Enjoy your birthday. Have a good one. Celebrate safely, but celebrate hard.
That's why I like too. Is like a lot of these episodes have like 2-3 storylines kind of. Yeah. So it's not just like about that one.
That's another reason why it's hard to remember. Not only like the title usually only refers to one thing, but there's like when was that?
Yeah,
that's also in that episode.
Yeah, because on some of my notes I kind of had to write like 2 things. Like, oh, okay, this was that one too. Besides that, it was this moment too. That yada 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 was funny because like it's like they want to know what the hell was going on. We find out that chick that he's dating is a fucking like thief.
Yeah.
And
like, but the whole time they're like, "You don't think she'd yada yada sex?" But they go to the thing and like there's a guy there, right? Isn't that same episode?
Yes, I believe so.
And they're like, "Who's that guy?" or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he's just fucking there. He's like comes out in the towel. He's like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" Blah, blah. I don't even know. Did they ever clarify that? Like, was he like also hooking up with her? Or what?
I don't know, but I know George says at the end that she gets locked up for like about 9 months.
Damn.
for doing some shit. So
Joe says, "Do you remember the reverse episode?"
Oh,
yes, I do. When they're in India and it starts out, it goes backwards, whatever. That was cool.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a cool episode. The joke still landed and everything.
Yes. That was really. I remember seeing that. I was kind of like. I asked my wife, I go, "What's going on here?" And she remembered. She was like, "Oh, watch, you're gonna like it because it all makes sense at the end."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." I was like, "Okay." And I thought first off that was really smart how they did it. I don't know how. I don't know. Maybe they shot it first. I don't know, filmed it backwards, whatever.
Yeah.
But it made sense. I was like, "Wow, this was really good." It's kind of like like what you're saying, kind of like Pulp Fiction almost.
Yeah, or like Memento.
know?
Did you ever see Memento?
Yes,
Yeah,
Memento. Yes,
I wonder
yes.
if this was like
Yes.
in the same time as that.
It could have been.
I remember them advertising that episode before it came out.
Yeah.
Because remember, I was watching some of that
it's
in
different.
real time.
It's kind of unique.
Yeah.
I can't think of another show that might have did something like that.
I don't know of any. That I
That's
could
really
think of.
cool. Yeah.
But I remember the promos before that. They were like next week's episode, blah blah, like the backwards episode or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, cool. I want to see that because again, I would watch in real time. You know what I mean?
I might check that one out after.
Jack says you can stuff your sorries in a sack. What about some of the like famous side characters though? Like my dad always brings up Lloyd Braun. You know what I mean? Again, we talked about Tim Watley briefly.
Yes.
The never seen who I mentioned in the write up, Bob Sacameno. You know my friend Bob Sacameno. You know what I mean? It's like he's always bringing him up. Did any of those characters really like stand out? What about my dad always also brings up Banya.
I was going to mention him, Banya.
Yeah.
Banya is the one I can probably think of, maybe besides Newman.
Yeah.
That's probably the one I really know the most.
Well, Patrick Warburton, Putty. We get to know him, and he later becomes the Tick. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And that's a great episode too, where she's on a plane. And They have broke up, and then they get back together. But he was pretty damn funny.
Putty
too. Yes.
It's just like minimal lines, deadpan delivery.
Yes.
I love the episode where she finds out he's religious. She's like, I borrowed Putty's car, all Christian stations.
Texas David Putty. And Sacramento is crazy.
Yeah, and dude, I love that. And then, but when she's like, he tells her she's going to hell, and she's like, if I'm going to hell, you should care that I'm going to hell. She's like, and the heat, my God, the heat. But then after that, he's like, you stole my Jesus fish, didn't you? And she's like, that's right. And then they go see the priest. Remember?
Oh man, yes.
And then he's like, oh, we do it a lot with marriages. And then she's like, oh, we're not married. She's like, we're just having a good time, And then he goes, oh, in that case, you're both going to hell. and then he's Putty's like, oh man, this blows. He's like all mad or whatever because I guess he thought like listening to Christian music and stuff was enough to go to heaven.
Joe goes, Putty with Class 8, the devils.
Yeah, and fucking, I love it. And they're in there with the priest, and Elaine does it again. She's like, and then the priest, he's like, The priest is in on it, like, oh, fuck.
Well, see, that's what I love about Elaine, because she's not really gonna take shit.
No,
she's
dude,
like,
she
fuck
takes
that.
no shit. Yeah. What about the episode where they keep breaking up, and then she's like,
yes,
we're back together.
Yes.
We're back together.
Yeah.
She's like, get them close, because he's about to leave. He's like, oh, this is great, just doing this. He gets to leave, and she's like, oh, what? It shouldn't be great. He's like, you know what? We're back on. He's like, no, please,
I don't remember what episode it is, but you remember she's dating this one guy, and whenever Desperado comes on,
oh, that's a great one.
He's like, this is a song.
Yeah.
For
and he
like
makes you
being
be quiet.
Yeah, he's like, be quiet.
And other when Jerry later, he's like, oh, he's out riding fences.
And then but then she's trying to find a fucking Ego song for both of them. Or so I can't remember if it was Egos or it's just another
it's the
song.
Egos because she tells
okay.
Jerry, what about Witchy woman? He's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
She's like, Witchy woman. He's like, witchy woman. And then she's like, yeah, that's what I said, right? And she tries to play it for that guy. He's like, no, Elaine, no. And then she goes, maybe we could share it. He's like, no, this one's just for me. It's like all these like random
goes
guys.
into a fucking trance with Desperado.
Dude, that's a fucking great. I need to rewatch that. I haven't seen that one in a little while. It feels like
Joe says, "If I'm going to hell, you're going with me."
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Jack says she wants their song to be "Witchy Woman."
Yeah, Witchy Woman, Jack. Yeah, man. That's
I love it
classic.
how he just like shuts her up and he's like enjoying the fucking.
Dude, they had some horrible people they dated, right? What about my dad always brings up too when Jerry's dating Gina Gershon, remember? Yeah. And she's like, I saw your act. It's a lot of fluff. And he's like, you're a waitress or whatever she is. Or he tells her like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I love that too. They take a lot of jabs at Jerry's act or whatever. I'm like, man, this dude's like got a career, like in comedy. Yeah. They take a lot of, and he's been on Carson. Carson, they say Carson. I know they say Letterman.
It probably has to be Carson.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever say or show Jay Leno, but they definitely show Letterman. Because when he gets bumped from the high school in that one, or the junior high, Letterman actually calls him at the end, and he's like, hey, I heard about that thing. Oh, that's tough. One time I had a guy on, and he's like going on, and Jerry's like, man, fuck, man. Charles Grodin had a show for a while, and he appeared on that show.
Oh, damn.
I don't know if they ever show or say Jay Leno, but he definitely says he's doing the Tonight Show a couple of times. He invites like his folks out. He invites George out a couple of times.
Because it's NBC, right?
Yeah, and I remember watching like Leno and Letterman and seeing like when they would have comedians on.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize like these people went on to be like big comedians when I first saw them.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Kramer's fucking banging Sarah Silverman?
Yes.
I was like, that was a cameo that I had totally forgot about that cameo.
Yeah, I mean, Bryan Cranston comes on. The chick who plays Skylar is on there.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about her too. Yeah.
Deborah Messing is on there, and the other chick from Will and Grace, the other one. I just saw that one.
Deborah Messing's married to Carrie Hughes.
Yes, that's right.
They're waiting for them to break up.
Yes,
more deplorable action.
Yes.
So like, how do we get these two split up?
Yeah.
You know. All right, guys. We're going to do something that we wouldn't normally do. We're going to pop in a couple of fellow Seinfeld fans and non-Seinfeld fans. Let's see what we can get here. If we can get these guys to join us right here. Joe, what is up? Joe from Now Watch This.
What is up, my brothers? What are y'all doing?
Oh, man, we're here talking Seinfeld. Let's see if we can bring in one more.
What's up?
Luck, you're
Let me get a proper hello to Now Watch This. I mean, to Just Another Friday Night with my...
Hey, there it is.
Little cheersy here.
Oh, there we go.
I'm sorry I'm late, boys, but
no.
Luck and I had a little business to take care of.
Hey, man, that's all good. We appreciate you guys doing your thing. Jack, if you're out there, can you let me know if you can hear Joe and Lucky's audio right now? Because we can hear you guys loud and clear in our headphones, but I don't know that the audience can, so I may have to switch you guys' audio. I was just telling Jerry and Anthony this, that my audio issue is that the only way I'm able to catch guest audio right now is to turn you guys on in the speakers in the computer and then let the mic pick y'all's voices up. I know that's not the way to do it, but that's the way it's doing it right now. In fact, I should try that real quick. So let me try that because I am really sure that we can hear you, but I'm pretty sure that the audience can't. So give me a second here to do some of my limited audio audio magic there and see if we can't pick you guys up a little bit better.
Sorry, we're messing up your show.
Give us a mic check. No, not at all, man. I sent you guys a link, so I was to take a risk there.
Jack says he can't.
Well, as you know, it's my favorite podcast, so...
Oh, well, we appreciate that, you know what I mean? So we love you guys too, man. You guys get a lot of recording done lately. What's going on?
We're just trying to get back into it.
Last few episodes were great, guys. You kind of did like a comeback episode. You didn't watch anything in that one, but you just had some good comeback talk. Loved that. And then in this last one, you watched The Sandlot, which was awesome to hear you guys go through the paces on that.
Yeah, and we recorded right now.
I think we had fun
jumping in.
Lucky, I love this story about the.
Sorry, Luck.
Was it? And yeah, I think we got a little lag. The golden retrievers in your hat when you were working for Spectra.
Yes. I have a lot of memories.
So, Lucky, tell us what's your experience with Seinfeld? Were you not a fan? It seems like never watched an episode. You said.
I just never got into it. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just one of those things, you know. I was probably doing something else or watching something else. I just never got into it. Maybe I could get into it now. I don't know, but
yeah, I think it maybe hit a little different for you now as like an adult.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because that's when I started watching. I only barely started watching like 5 years ago.
Yeah. And it's all on Netflix, man. I mean, like, I would say find a couple. And you know what? It really doesn't find itself until a little later on, right? Double A, like, you know, like maybe by season 3.
Well, even some of the earlier episodes were funny.
Yeah,
they're fun, but yeah, it does get better as the seasons go on.
Everything, they all grows. The writing grows. The characters grow.
It's like you said, the delivery.
Yeah. But
the delivery.
If we're talking about Jerry Seinfeld himself, I do enjoy, or I do recommend watching comedians drinking coffee or in cars or whatever that is, right?
Yeah, comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah.
Literally, between my sister and that show, it created... I never drank coffee before probably 3-4 years ago, and I am like an avid coffee addict now, which is truly addictive. Joe, what about you? What's your experience with Seinfeld? Obviously, you were meant to be here in person. Initially, I know we got word out to you late, so apologies for that. But I'm really glad that out of that was another episode of Not Watch This recorded. So,
yeah. Good. I would think of a few things that I would miss your guys' show for, and I guess that would be one of them. But there's not many.
Well, we appreciate that, man, hugely.
I mean, Seinfeld for me, like I caught it while it was still on. Like I'm revealing my age here, but I was that old.
I'm in the same boat, brother. Yeah,
Um,
I was telling Double A that.
it's one of those few shows that you can think of that you know where it was when it finished. Like you know where you were. Like it was one of those watched by what was the viewage? Like it was in the high millions or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers.
Oh, it was hot. I mean, it was the hottest show.
I think that at one time it was NBC's biggest show.
I mean,
you know
it
what
was the biggest
Yeah.
show, and I mean, it ended up being the third highest series finale. behind
Really?
Cheers and Mash.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show you how much.
Was it one thing for you guys? Like, do you guys remember? It was either Friends or Seinfeld. You liked one or the other. Like, if you liked Friends, you weren't on the Seinfeld fan.
I think the way I remember it, at least maybe like among my friend group, was that was like girls liked Friends. Friends was like the girl show, and like the kind of like the, I would say the more, I don't know if I would even say nerd, but just like a certain type of guys that maybe weren't jocks liked Seinfeld. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was another show at the time that the jocks were watching, but you guys both played sports. I know that, right?
Maybe Luck more than I did.
I'm
I
back.
know Luck did the football thing, right, Luck?
Yeah, football.
Did you have a show at that time, Luck? Because we're roughly the same age. Like, did you have a show that you were into at that time?
No, I don't know.
See, Luck
I was just a little
chasing
everywhere.
Tail Is what it was. What was it?
I was just everywhere. You know what I mean?
If,
I was more into what we just recorded on today, which was Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
Hey, there it is.
So this is a heads up.
Hey, get that plug in.
That's our next episode.
Hey, breaking news right there,
Yeah,
right?
breaking
Don't worry,
news.
the next episode of Now Watch
Yeah.
This, guys.
Hey, what about Saved by the Bell at college years?
ooh,
No.
standing at the edge of tomorrow.
There you go.
Well, look, I've heard you guys on Now Watch This. I know you were watching. You were a Fresh Prince guy. You like the
Fresh
Fresh Prince.
Prince.
You like
Yeah.
Roseanne. You're a Roseanne guy. So there was
Yeah.
stuff there, definitely.
Yeah.
Fresh Prince was more hotter than Roseanne.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because you think to yourself, how do we relate to that at that age, you know?
Yeah. If I can say, and I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek, Lucky has not watched Scrubs.
Oh.
So I'm trying to get him into that and follow him that way.
Yes.
I heard that negative. Oh,
No.
Yeah.
Look, that O was because I looked at Double A thinking we both haven't seen that either. But he just said right now he has seen it. I'm with you. Look, I've never seen Scrubs.
Yeah, I love Scrubs.
I don't like Zach Braff.
Did this just turn into an orgy? I think so.
I like Scrubs. It's pretty funny. I like it.
Okay. But Double A, out of you two, who's Donald Faison and who's Zach Braff?
Maybe CM's more Zach Braff because he's more out there.
Okay.
From
He's
what
more
I,
out
from
But
there.
what I
every
heard of the show,
guy
he was
friendship.
like, yeah.
Wait, joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always wanting to have a good time. But
Yeah.
He was good at what he did.
Okay.
Not a doctor for nothing.
Yeah, that's true. What about you? What about Now Watch This? Luck and Joe. Who's who, Joe?
Luck hasn't watched, so I would say I'm more of the Zach Braff because I'm more of the emotional and the lover, and so like he's not my chocolate bear, but he's like my graham cracker bear.
but I am
Luck,
a
you'll
bear.
get that if you watch the show. Yeah.
But I am a
There you
bear.
go, Luck. All right. The better question is this: who's Cheech and who's Chong?
Oh,
Well, that was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, CM would be.
We're talking about today, guys, and it's lucky to come on this show. Is we talked about great duos. And for you guys are up there to me. Part of the reason you guys do so well is you play off each other so well. And you think about Cheech and Chong that we did today. You think about people like Jay and Silent Bob. You know, the great comedy duos back in the day. And so now watch this. We're just trying to get on your guys' level. You know what I'm saying? The great comedy duos
the bar is low,
of podcasts.
The bar's real low, Joe. So don't you guys worry about it. You're right there with us, man, for sure. Yeah, I have a cousin, mine Double A's cousin. His name's Frank, but I call him Cheech. And he calls me Cheech also. I remember because he would show me those movies, and neither one of us wanted to be Chong, so we just called each other Cheech all the time. I didn't appreciate Chong till I got older, though. I remember when I was young, I didn't get like that they were getting high on weed. I was just like, oh, they were smoking, you know what I mean? Like stuff or whatever. And he seemed dumb. I was like, oh, he's the dumb character. I didn't want to be him. I wanted to be like the brains of the outfit. Later on, I realized I was like, oh, like Chong is hilarious. The comedic timing is impeccable. Both of them are great. I can't wait to hear that episode, guys. Y'all did what? The first movie?
Yeah, Up in Smoke.
Up in Smoke. Nice.
Let me know when y'all get a nice dream.
Don't stare at his birthmark.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at.
His birthmark, man.
All right.
Hey,
I didn't want to.
This is a long free plug right here, so clip this into a TikTok.
I don't want to hijack your show, but just wanted to stop in and say hi.
No, man, we appreciate you being here.
And invitation for you guys, if you want. Let's do Pray.
Oh, we like that. Pray.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Double A, I told him you and I were looking at that trailer.
Yeah. We might watch it tonight, me and my wife. We might watch it tonight, or we might watch it Sunday, so.
Are you guys too? Because I know you guys. Again, you missed this part earlier because you guys were probably recording. Because we know that Now Watch This is the home of just nerds, but not fucking nerds. But we went ahead and claimed it just as a find out is the home of fucking nerds. So
okay, all right.
We don't mean fucking nerds. If someone are uncomfortable, we mean that we are a couple of fucking nerds. So
all right.
So we want to know: are you guys gonna watch Sandman on Netflix?
I will. I know nothing about the story or the character, but I'm definitely in.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Luck. That's not a book that I read. Double A lent it to me. I tried to read some of it. I was enjoying it, but I just didn't commit. But he's the Sandman guy. He's looking forward to it.
Love it.
Yeah, with coming from the knowledge base of it. Me, I'm coming like you, coming in blind, but it looks amazing, and I know that it is so lauded in the comic book world. What about you, Joe?
Well, I know myself, like another Friday night listeners, every other one out there, when Double A says he likes something, you go and check it out. Through you guys, I went and watched the 80s Magic Johnson show.
Man, showtime.
I love that.
Winning time. And we
I gave Thor a try after watching your show last week. And, so you guys are out there selling, man. Marvel owes you a little something.
We appreciate it, man. The boys, we're trying to sell you on the boys, Joe. Luck, are you doing the boys? Luck, did you finish?
Yes. The boys is great.
That's what I said.
And me and Luck are both doing Harley Quinn. So we got to get you guys up on the Harley Quinn.
That might be the end of that one.
Yeah, I heard that. Shitty news regarding that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's actually canceled.
They're cleaning house.
It's canceled.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. That's it.
Yeah.
Are they going to finish the season 3 at least?
Yeah, they have to.
I think they're going to finish season 3. I heard too, Chuck, they're going to cancel AEW, your little pissant show.
There we go. And on that note, it was great having Not Watch This here with us tonight.
For real, I have to go, though.
You got to go.
It's been
Luck,
fun.
We appreciate you popping
Enjoy.
in, brother. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. There's the crowd right there.
All right, y'all have a good night.
And then there were 3, Joe.
All right, guys.
Just like your 3 favorite letters, AEW. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Man, I am so sorry that I didn't get to join you guys, man. I really
no.
am. I would have loved to be in the
I knew the
studio with you
timing
guys.
was all tight. We were trying to get everything figured out.
I really want to do a wrestling episode anyway soon, so maybe you can come on that with Claude and Manny and Jerry.
Yeah, man. I got to figure out these audio issues too, because I want to get some of our Friday nighters that can't come into the studio to
I don't know
join
if you
us.
remember, Joe, but me and Claude were kind of going back and forth on the Ric Flair thing.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Double A? Like, you good? He did it. Like, I'm just hoping we don't see nothing after that.
You know what? Flair just is miserable when he's not wrestling.
Yeah.
That's what the man does. That's what he's great at. I mean, shit, if he wants to die in the ring, let him die. That's what makes him happy. He's miserable. You can see it every time. He's fucking
And
miserable.
he can't just be in the background, man.
Yeah.
Like, he
If I was
wants
someone
to
who
be
never
there.
retired, stop announcing retirements and just be like,
and
work
this-
what you can.
You know what? This is just going to get him thinking. It's the second highest independent show of all time behind All In. 6,800 people came to see him. I mean, you know, it's got him thinking again, should I be retiring?
Well,
Jack chimes in. Should have stayed.
I know his
retired.
brother-in-law.
He should have stayed
Yeah.
retired. But you know what? He's miserable. He's miserable when he's not wrestling.
He
Yeah.
doesn't care that when we see it, we know he's working a bad match. He
Yeah.
just cares that he's in the ring.
He's in the ring.
That's
it.
fucking amazing.
He said, like, I read an article where he said, like, he just called up Jay Lethal. And he's like, hey, man, I want to get in the ring. Can you train me? And that's all he wanted to do. And Jay Lethal said he was throwing up. He was, like, winded. He was, like, really, like, close to passing out a few times. But he's happy. That's his environment. That's what he wants to do. He's happy.
You're telling me you can't put Flair with some really good workers and get him some, minor spots, in the match, make him look good.
That's all the man wants
You
to do.
don't gotta put him over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
You could just keep, he'll probably take a bunch of fucking, he'll get buried. Just
And he
because
probably
he wants
wants
to do
that.
that.
He's like, I don't want
You
to
let him go out there, hit his spots, figure four, tap out, bye.
Look, Joe, I know we argue AEW, WWE, but there's no one right now that does not want to be in a figure four from Ric Flair. That's like a rite of passage, you know what I mean? Also, Joe, I want to know, can I count on your contributions to the Human Fund? It's money for people.
Oh,
So
my money's all tied up in Festivus right now, fellas. Like, And then, I was at the doctor and my wallet got stolen. And I'm like, my wallet's gone. My wallet's gone.
Wallet's gone. Joe, who were some of your favorite side characters in Seinfeld, that were, besides the big four?
I mean, y'all talked about the soup Nazi, I'm sure.
No,
Yes.
no, actually, we haven't.
We haven't touched on it a whole lot, but go ahead.
That's the one that everyone remembers, right? The no soup for you.
Yes. Yes.
But did y'all get to the Larry David of it yet?
Oh, we've talked a bit about Larry David, being kind of the inspiration for George Costanza, and he did. I think between him and Jerry and Larry Charles, they did the bulk of the writing. But what do you mean specifically about him?
So, like, even Curb Your Enthusiasm, there's Seinfeld themes, Seinfeld feels. Season 10, I want to say, it's almost like another season of Seinfeld.
Yeah. I was telling Double A to try to catch some of those episodes because they were so good, and it made you feel like you were getting another season of Seinfeld. Jack, I don't know if you're still with us, Jack, but if you haven't seen some of those Curb episodes, they're fantastic. They play. I was just telling Double A some of the plots of some regular episodes on my ride over here to record, and he was laughing his ass off. Like, damn! I was like, doesn't it sound Seinfeldian to you? It's like, it sounds like something.
You can't help it, right? I mean, it's what
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that comedy hits.
Yeah.
So you feel a theme, right? Right? You can sense it in other things, and that's the theme of a good movie or a good show, is that you can see its influence on other shows down the line, or comedy down the line from that really stuck with us.
Absolutely. I mean, Double A brought up the Big Bang Theory earlier. I definitely think that it was trying to harness a little bit of that vibe.
It seems like if you look at like all the shows post Seinfeld, or even like during the Seinfeld run, you can see a lot of resemblance to that kind of comedy that Seinfeld brought in.
But there's also this with these other shows. There's like this fear, right? They don't go where Seinfeld goes, where they don't make anyone likable.
No. Because I don't think they have the guys to do it. I don't think they have the actors, actresses to do it.
Right. There's always some love story. There's always one really likable character, someone you're sympathetic towards, someone that's like overly, funny or whatever. But I mean, Seinfeld went all in on like, these people are gonna suck.
So like real quick, CM and Joe. So I was watching the episode. It's The Invitations. Where the fiance dies.
Yeah, Susan. That's like the season 7 finale.
It's late.
I think.
Yeah, it's late in the series, and
which was dark.
And it almost this one episode almost made me hate George because of the ending when he's talking to that other chick, when he's ready to hook up with a. Right after that, she fucking died. I was like, man, this guy's a fucking asshole. Like, I looked at my wife, I was like, this fucking chick just died because of his cheap ass, for buying those cheap envelopes, and I was like, man, he's like not even heartbroken about it. He's like,
he'd been wanting out. He's trying every way to.
If you look at the episodes before, he's looking for a way out.
Like, golly, this guy's like a fucking dick, He's like. He calls her up right away.
Like I think he's like she died, and Jerry's like she died.
In that final episode too, they bring back the guy that played the doctor. It's the same guy. And they said, "How would you describe Mr. Costanza's demeanor?" And he goes, "Constrained jubilation." And the court is like, "Oh," which is like,
But again, I love the George character. The fire.
Yes.
In the apartment where he pushes the old lady out of the way.
And the kids.
Remember when he builds the desk underneath the desk, his sleeping area?
Yes, he gets that carpenter to build him like a fucking cup holder.
Yes.
And
he's got the cubby for the alarm clock. And I love when Steinbrenner sends that drone in there because they think a bomb's in there, right? He finds George's porn. He's like, nothing here but empty calories and no curiosity.
Y'all know Larry David was the Steinbrenner.
Sam told me,
Joe, do you have a character you feel like you relate to the most of the big four?
It would have to be, I would think Jerry, but it's probably George. Like, people would probably be like, yeah, that's the fucking George of our group. And you became that, right? Like, again, it was either you liked Friends or Seinfeld, but that became your Friends group, right? Like, you're like, I'm this person of that group.
Yeah. I've heard you on enough angry rants on Now Watch This, Joe, to say that you're definitely a George. So.
No, that's just our text between each other.
Oh, well, it usually comes when you find out Lucky hasn't seen or liked something. You know what I mean?
So you said your dad likes this show. Like, what were his favorite episodes? Do you know?
I couldn't say what his specific favorite episodes are, but he does. Like I said, he always references the soup Nazi. He loves Banya when Jerry has to take him for a meal. And I always, anytime I mention soup around my dad at all, soup, my dad will immediately say, soup is not a meal. And I'll immediately say, but if there was bread? If there's bread, it's a meal. So he always talks about wanting to go to Mendy's. Let's see, real quick, Jack chimed into the comments here. He says, Kramer, poor Lily. Because he never knew her damn name, Susan's name. And then Facebook user says, happy Festivus, guys. We appreciate you, Facebook user. But go to StreamYard.com/Facebook.
Who's saying this? And it says, no soup for you. Next.
Yeah, I love that. I love Elaine's venom at the end of that episode.
Oh, man, she gets fucking pissed.
Oh, she is so happy to be able to get revenge that she can't contain herself.
What are those gay dudes tell Kramer? Because that's the same one.
Oh my god!
Carrying...
that's a big aspect of that.
You want a piece of me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, also, I'm like, they see it on the side of the street. He says he's watching it for. They just steal it.
Yeah. He's like, he got jumped.
Yeah, those guys were fucking assholes. You know? I was like,
Jerry gets afraid of him. Kramer's afraid of him.
but how does Kramer describe it later? Oh, it was taken by street toughs. Those guys were street toughs. Like, I love watching that episode with my dad because my dad's like, man, I'd have been whipping their ass. Like, I didn't know, man. It's some crazy shit, man. But yeah.
I want to say my favorite has got to be when George goes out to the sea and climbs on the well. And he's telling them the story afterwards. It's like the sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old woman turning out cold soup at a cafe.
Dude, I also love, for me, you know, when Janine Garofalo guesses, and she essentially plays like a female Seinfeld, and he's like, I finally found what I've been wanting. It's me. And then by the end, he's like, I hate myself.
Dude, Jerry had a buffet of women coming in, man.
He sure did. Some real
He was
foxes,
pimping.
man. I mean, you know, we already talked about Terry Hatcher, you know, Deborah Messing. I mean, there's a whole
They had
slew.
Jane Levy that became famous more on Frasier.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about
Yeah, she was in.
I'm seeing here right now,
Lauren Graham.
Lauren Graham, Jamie Gertz, Lori Loughlin. She plays one of his girlfriends too. I forgot about that one. Yeah, there's a bunch, a whole bunch of here.
I mean,
it goes on and on. The people that guested on Seinfeld. Jack has a comment here. He says, then in the other episode, who doesn't want to wear the? Who doesn't want to wear the AIDS ribbon? Yeah, those guys come back.
Who?
The marine biologist. He says is the episode. I mean, it goes on and on, man. The list. It's 9 seasons. It's tight, like you said. AA 22-minute episodes. What else you got?
Yeah, there's one called The Gymnast, where it's like one of the storylines is Jerry's dating a former gymnastics competitor. And in that same episode, George is dating some really nice looking chick, and he's meeting the family. And he's like, no, I'll clean up everything, you know, I'll get all the dishes. And he finds like this dessert in the trash.
The chocolate.
And it's still kind of like, it has like a bite mark on there. And he picks it up, and the mom walks in on him eating it. I was
out
like,
of the trash.
that's fucking gross. And then when he's talking to Jerry about the whole situation, he's like, you just ate garbage.
Was it below the lid?
Yeah, it was on the top. It was on bit in one time. I was like, man, it's fucking gross.
Yeah, a classic George moment too, right? I always think about the episode too when they get to go to the Hamptons. They're gonna go see the baby, and that's when George is in the pool and the shrinkage. That was another Seinfeldian, you know.
I was in the pool.
It became part of it, you know. He's like, you know, there was shrinkage, you know. Yeah, I was in the pool. But his whole plot to get back at her, you know, he puts the damn lobster in the eggs, and she doesn't eat shellfish or whatever. It's like they're just all so petty.
But I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I like the George moments. I think probably the most because they're just so fucking funny. Because he's such an asshole. It's like even like the double dip part.
Yes.
Where he's like, I saw you. I saw what you just did. He's like, what did I do? He's like, you double dip. And he's like, yeah, that's why I eat my chip. And he does it again. He bites it and he double dips again. And I was like, man, this fucking guy. And then, so he's trying to, on that same episode, he's trying to pay less for the air freight, but he needs a death certificate.
Yes.
So he takes a picture of the fucking chick's like grandpa or something. It's like casket, the grandma. And he's like, does this help? And he's like,
they're like, not a chance.
Not even close.
He's like,
man,
I'm the boyfriend. I'm playing the role, so that's me.
Oh,
this guy's just an asshole.
Yeah, totally. Double A, I wanted you to tell a story real quick, though, because you've actually had the distinct honor of visiting Monk's Cafe.
Yeah, so I was like, you know, we went to New York back in 2015. I was like, we have to go see that restaurant. We have to. I mean, it's popular. We have to go. So we found it. I found it where it was at. It's a little bit north of Manhattan. And it looks weird. It's just weird. It's like this one big building. It's kind of like this, like that. Like, kind of like a building, but then it's like that restaurant. sign. It's just like right there at the bottom.
And it's not actually called Monk's, right?
No.
It's called Tom's.
Yeah, and the restaurant is nowhere near as big as that. I mean, it's just like a straight shot. You go in there, it's just like that. It's just, you go straight, and it's a sandwich shop. And I mean, we went there, we sat there. That's where I got the magnets.
Yes,
for us.
I have it on my fridge to this day. Double A brought me a nice magnet, Joe, from Tom's Diner, which is
And if you go at the time back in 2015, it was cash only.
Oh, really? How was the food?
It was fine. It's a sandwich
Right?
place. Yeah,
I remember asking you when you first. I was like, dude, how was it? And you're like, it was just like, okay. It's like nothing special, you know.
It wasn't. It really wasn't. It's just.
But you know what? That's awesome. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I would love to take a trip and do stuff like that. You know, like people are gonna do the touristy things, but to be like, I went to one of my favorite fucking show scenes. That's love, and that she was willing to do it with you. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's her. She's the one that turned me on to Seinfeld.
Yeah. So that's badass.
It wasn't the other way. And she thought it was just a big thrill. She was like, "Wow, I'm eating at the restaurant."
Yeah, but dude, my dad would super love that, man.
And every time we see it, they're like, "Man, it's funny how that restaurant is not like this at all." I was like, "That's bigger than all the restaurants we were like at all together."
Oh, I'm sure.
New York, their restaurants are just like super small. It's a little bit bigger than this room, than the studio back here. You know, I mean, it's. But, I mean, it was just cool. It's just a cool experience.
Dude, like I said, I love that. That's like, to me, that's like the perfect thing that you brought me, man. That like the little magnet. It's always been on my fridge since you gave it to me because I was just like, dude, that's cool. And you remember that I love.
And I think I got one for Jack, and I think I got one for my buddy Ish.
Nice.
So,
Joe, the three men here talking right now are huge New York Yankees fans. What did you feel about George and his job and position at the time with the Yankees, especially as a huge baseball guy yourself?
I remember at the time the Yankees weren't that great, but they did have some good players, and they were coming up.
They won the World Series.
Well, they won in '96.
Yeah,
that's when they won. But yeah, Joe's right about before that. Yeah, they probably weren't. They started getting better in '96.
And I remember they had one good player named Danny Tartable that I fucking loved, and I thought he was like the best player. And then he came on Seinfeld, and to use a wrestling term, I popped like a motherfucker. He was one of our favorites, but like George being in the organization, and then talking with Steinbrenner, and then hearing those stories. So that was always good, man. Like George, again, anything with George was fucking good and funny. I challenge you to find a bad George episode.
Jack says in the comments, George gets his comeuppance when he's on the plane with the murder. I don't know if I remember that one. Jack says that's how George got the job, telling Steinbrenner he ruined the Yankees and made them the laughing stock.
You remember that when fucking George tries to get fired?
Yes.
So he can go to the
Yes, he wants to go to the Mets.
A scout agent.
And he's like, hey, bodysuit guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember when George had the job and they just closed off the office to him? So he went through like an air duct, climbed through.
Yes.
And then called the clerk to be like, I'm in.
My office. I love when he comes into the meeting, too. He's got a Babe Ruth's uniform on. He's eating strawberries on it. And Steinbrenner, of course, is like...
He's like, oh, he was just a fat guy with little legs or something.
Yeah. When he runs the trophy, he's got it in the parking lot. He's like, oh, that's right. It's the past. We gotta leave that behind us. We gotta think to the future. I like this George guy.
And then that other idiot, remember
Wilhelm.
Yeah, he's the one that gets fired.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that was because of me. He did everything because of me.
Yeah, George only did this because I told you this because we're tired of your macho head games.
Do you remember the back and to the left episode?
No.
That's where supposedly Keith Hernandez spits on Newman.
Yes.
And Seinfeld fucking does the back and to the left.
So great. Yes, I do remember that. And Keith Hernandez is there at the final episode also
Yeah.
sitting in the crowd. But Joe, do you remember the part? I know you do, but we were talking about the episode earlier where George stops having sex, right? So
Yeah.
in that episode, he's like showing the Yankees how to bat better. He's like, it's simple geometry, guys. And that's when Jeter's like, he's like, oh, you're not doing that great. George tells me, and then Jeter's like, we won the World Series. You know, like okay, how much better? And then what is he?
He's like, you can do better.
Yeah, he goes in 7 games. That's what he tells
Oh
me.
yeah.
What the? Man, you're talking to Jeter, dog. Like, have some fucking respect.
Yeah,
man.
but at that time he's not the captain yet. you
Yeah, yeah, it's a great moment. I also remember like when the idiot George loses the birthday card. Remember Kramer sells it
Right,
when he's doing the winking.
Yes.
And that kid's like, "Oh, can you get Paul O'Neill to hit 2 home runs?"
That Paul here.
Hey, what about Elaine's Christmas card?
Oh man,
Super hot.
I remember.
And George is like,
Man, I wish I had.
I thought we were friends. You don't send me a card? And she puts her tits in his face.
The wet shirt one. I was like,
Oh
shit.
man, yeah. Lloyd Braun, yeah. Man, did you see that Elaine? Yeah, she's something else, right?
Speaking of like another Yankee, I forget where he gets the tickets from. But somebody offers George like 3 tickets in the box. I forgot who he is in the Yankee organization. But it's Kramer, George, and Elaine. And Elaine's wearing the Baltimore Orioles hat, remember?
Oh,
And
yes.
they tell her to leave, and she's like, no, I'm not going to leave.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's catching hell.
She's like, this is a, this is the box of like an official, and she doesn't want to take off the fucking hat.
You get the impression throughout.
Dude,
the show
Elaine,
that
I
she's a
mean,
Mets
she was the
fan,
best.
right?
Yeah, maybe.
Did you get that, Joe, from the show that Jerry really was like more of a Mets fan?
Yeah, Seinfeld's a Mets fan.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like it plays throughout. Like it's kind of low key, you know what I mean? But yeah,
I mean,
it's
with
definitely there.
the interpretation of Steinbrenner, I guess so, right? That
Right.
he's this fucking neurotic dude. You know?
Yeah,
This high, kind of cocaine-induced dude,
yeah,
This
man.
idiot kind of that doesn't know what's going on.
Because you think about it, when the show was made, late 80s, the Mets are a good team. You know, they got,
Piazza.
again, they got a lot of issues, but they had some good players. You know, Keith Hernandez comes from there. But during the 90s is when the Yankees came up. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to read this comment?
All good stuff. We got a comment here from Facebook user. Again, if you please go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give us permission to use your Facebook profile. We'll be able to see your name and your picture there from your Facebook profile. But again, StreamYard.com/Facebook. But it says here, Seinfeld was the show about nothing, and also the show that was mid as fuck.
Whoa.
Is it mid? Sorry, you guys know that I don't have my glasses, so I haven't.
No, that's it. Yeah.
I think that's what the kids say nowadays.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar. I know the as fuck part, but being mid, is that good?
That might be Claude.
Oh, it might be. Is that CJ there potentially?
That sounds like CJ.
That could be something he said. Yeah, but please identify yourself, Facebook user. We appreciate you being here, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on Seinfeld and any of the other Friday Nighters out there listening now. Yeah, we good call, Joe. CJ, we predicted that it was you, rightfully so. CJ, tell us, do you have a favorite Seinfeld moment? You're up in the Great White North, kind of near where all the action was happening.
What's that all about?
He says he's hiding in anonymity, but no more because you've been revealed. Who do you relate to from the Big Four, CJ?
Sean Smith too was the other one.
Oh man, I want to say shout out to Sean earlier for commenting about Festivus. We appreciate you being here, Sean. Also another guy I would love to have on that wrestling episode. Joe, you shared a little bit of time with him on our 75th.
Jack said
Yes, sir.
Is bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so CJ, are you saying that you did or did not like the show, Writing Seinfeld? Did you have a favorite episode or a character you identified with? Earlier we had on Joe's podcast partner, Luck, who didn't really ever watch it. So I know that it didn't appeal to quite a lot of people. You know what I mean? I'm surprised.
I think Claude was a Friends fan. Like, I'm telling you, he totally had the Rachel do.
Well, he says it right here. I wasn't the biggest Seinfeld fan, but honestly, I always loved the dynamic between George and his parents. It was always hilarious.
George again. Yeah.
Undoubtedly, yeah, a lot of George love
That's what I'm
tonight,
saying, man. George
Yeah,
is fucking
it's hilarious. You know what I mean? He was.
I mean, his dad was the best.
I want to say he was.
You remember the Stop Short?
Oh, the Stop Short, man. And what about the man's ear? That episode only resonated when I got older, and I was like, oh, some support would
That's
be
what
nice.
I'm saying, right? Like, it's funnier when you start seeing it older.
And to answer your question, Joe, CJ says Friends is terrible. Nah, bro. But it's nice that you can always find something to kind of hone in on. You know, again, the relationship with George and his parents was like way more toxic than like Jerry and his parents were. Although
real bad.
Jerry also didn't want his parents around. You know what I mean? So, but we love. I know me and my dad. We love talking about Del Boca Vista. You know what I mean? In Phase 2. What about all the stuff that they did? They did so much stuff that was like tributes to movies, right? Because in that one, it's kind of like the Nixon thing, right? They have him like going out, Jerry's dad. But then in that other episode, Jerry does like a whole tribute to like Wolf. Yeah. But he shaves his chest.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, because the chick likes the guy's
smooth.
Smooth, yeah.
And it's like Kramer's taking him somewhere on a fucking bus, and the full moon comes
That's
out.
when he's doing the real life Kramer tour.
Yeah, the Kramer reality tour.
I laugh my ass off when he gets out and he leaves. And
Oh my god, because that's also the muffin top episode.
Yes,
And one of my favorite
yes.
fucking lines in that episode is like when Elaine's like, "Oh, you got a bus, Kramer? You think you can haul a couple of stumps for me?" And he's like, "Oh, veterans." I'm like, what the fuck? It's like so random. I was like, I'm thinking to myself, is that what they call like veterans, like stumps? Like, what the fuck? Like, where does Kramer get this shit, man? I don't know. But yeah, he's like, oh, we're taking a detour to the dump to drop off some muffin stuff.
Yeah.
And the crowd's all sick or whatever because they said the bus smells and all that.
Yes.
And that's when Jerry's like, he's itching because it's going in already.
The fucking shadows
The 5
coming
o'clock
out.
shadow, yeah. Which earlier in the episode, he tells Kramer, he's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, well, it was a little uneven, so I started to even it out. He's like, and then next thing you know, gone. And Kramer's like, you don't go poking around down there. He's like, it just comes back thicker and fuller. He's like, that's an old wife. So he goes, is it? And you see him go off camera, off screen, and he opens his thing, and he's like, Jerry's like, no. It's just like all these beats that are so like,
I mean, there's so much
hilarious.
great stuff. It's like when Elaine eats the poppy muffin.
Yes.
She gets busted.
Yeah.
And then, the other part where she goes to her boss and it's Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Remember where she's boss? Yeah.
And he sees the Mexican sombrero.
Yes.
Hey, what,
She's like, and then she's like, Stella.
Yes. But Double A mentioned poppy seeds. Joe, what about Poppy's restaurant?
Oh, and I had that one down. Where was
And he don't wash his hands?
Oh, season 6. And that
I
one-
make it special for you.
And you know what? That one hit home to me because I was like, sometimes Jerry's a germaphobe, but sometimes I was like, yo, if I saw that shit in the bathroom, I'd be like, I'm not eating it. I'm not eating it. Fuck that.
Oh.
Not just that,
This shit
but
was gross.
that episode is great too because they talked about like abortion on that one.
Yeah.
And about how she doesn't support the ones that give abortion. He's like one of them.
Right.
Poppy, and she pretty much almost ruins like his business. That's like another running theme, is it like them ruining the fucking businesses that people had, the soup Nazi.
Yeah.
The
Babu.
chicken. Babu.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers Roosters.
Yes.
Yeah, with the
all
rat
the
hat.
fucking, all the fucking businesses that they ruin.
I never thought about that, but they do shut
yeah.
a lot of shit down. Yeah. Let's see. We got some comments in here. After I think this is still CJ.
He goes, and
Yeah.
I have to compare myself to a character, soup Nazi, most definitely.
I could see that, CJ.
What about the Stop Short movie? Anyone ever use it? I believe it was called the Stop Short.
Break. Stop short. I don't drive. I'm a non-driver, so I'm hoping someone will stop short with me. I guess it'd be
The parking space one was funny. Speaking of the driving one, with that dude, he's like a friend of Jerry, but he calls Jerry a fake to Kramer. You remember that one where?
No.
So, fucking George finds a spot because they're borrowing Jerry's car, and he's like, "Oh, I found the spot like right next to it," and he's trying to back up. Well, this dude comes right at the same time, and they both stay there like the whole night because none of them want to budge, none of them want to give up.
Because it's real New York, right? That's a real New York issue of parking. It's a big deal.
Jerry's kind of like, he's like, oh, hey, man, what's up? Because he knows the other dude. And then, he's like, you called me a fake. Like, he comes he's like, and he gets mad at Kramer. He's like, he told him what I said. It's a fucking stupid episode again with George where he just doesn't
Well,
want to
remember,
back down.
he's known for not keeping secrets too, right? George, just
Yes.
like Elaine, you know, and Jerry tells her, she's like, it's in the vault. He's like, everyone knows the key. He's like, it's schnapps or whatever. So she drinks a little and tells her the secrets.
Hey, what about Kramer's lawyer?
And Jackie
Oh
Childs.
shit!
Jackie Childs.
I love it, man. I love Jackie Childs. Of course, a play on the Johnny Cochran character.
Bad,
Remember
real
that
bad.
trial was going on during
Yes,
that time, right?
yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
It was like huge, you know.
I don't know. If
Do you
you've
remember,
seen a new commercial? Have you seen it?
Who? Jackie?
Yeah.
No, I
Where
hadn't
he's
seen it.
eating like I think pretzels or whatever. It's a new commercial.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta look that up. Is he in the character?
Yeah.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. What were you gonna say, Joe? I'm sorry.
No, Jackie Childs. He closed the show pretty good too. With they're real and they're spectacular.
Yeah, man. I mean, they even have that scene of them, that shot of them in bed, which is great. You know, Jack in the comments says, and Larry David voices the ref as Jerry walks in to see the end of the fight. We were talking about the cockfight? Because that's a great episode too, where Kramer's fighting little Jerry, and you know they all get wrapped up in it, right? They end up at the cockfight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Elaine's like, she tells him at one point, she's like, "It's 3 a.m. and I'm at a cockfight. You know, what am I missing?" You know? But it's funny because
It busts in slow motion.
Guy,
Yeah.
and it goes in slow motion as the ringer is coming at little Jerry, and Kramer jumps in front of it. But, you know, you've got Elaine yelling like, "Stop the fight!" And George is like, "Tamale!" The parking spot fight. Oh, okay. Referring back to that episode. Yeah, all good shit. Man. I didn't know that Larry David did the voice there.
The Kramer too, where all of a sudden he starts working at the office. Remember?
Oh man, that is so great.
Golly.
Because he's doing something with the machine. He's coming out of the bathroom, and he's like, "No, man, you got to hit it like this."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, boss called a meeting right now." That guy's like, "Come on, man, we better go." And he's like, "Okay." He just goes into the meeting, whatever. After that, he's like going to work, and then him and Jerry are like a husband and wife.
Yeah.
He's like, "I never see you anymore."
Which I've seen that happen many times after an episode. It's funny. That same kind of like argument there. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe they started that shit too.
It's very possible, man. Because I think a lot
And
of
then
people
at the
bought a lot
end
of
too,
shit.
remember he's like, I don't think you know what you're doing. And he's like, I don't even work here.
And then he goes, "Let's make this yeah. Gee, literally one of the things, you know, Joe, I did the hair up, but I almost did bring. I have an old. This is what I have at my house. I was looking for two other props I wanted to bring with me. I brought some of my Seinfeld stuff, but I have a really great Rolling Stone cover where they're dressed like the Wizard of Oz. Have you seen that cover?
No.
I think Jerry is the Tin Man, Kramer's the Straw Man, George is the Cowardly Lion, and Elaine is Dorothy. Which is funny, right? Because Jerry, the no heart.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
George, the Cowardly Lion, the coward. Kramer, the strawman, dumb, no brain, right? And she's dressed like Dorothy, and like it's a really, really badass Rolling Stone cover. When we promote this episode, I'll post that picture,
Okay,
or
cool.
Double A will post
Cool.
it. I have that cover though, and I wanted to bring it. So I was sweating my ass off in my garage trying to find it, and I couldn't fucking find it. The other thing I have is that supposedly it's very rare when Playboy put a man on the cover. Like Kiss has a distinction, I think. But
yeah.
Jerry is on the cover of one of them. He's in a phone booth. He's
Wow.
on the phone.
That just
I have
goes to
that
show
cover
you how
too.
popular he was
I
at
couldn't
one
fucking
time.
find that cover. Yeah, and I was like,
I don't want to be the puffy shirt guy.
Hey Joe, we got you right here, Joe. The puffy shirt right there.
That just goes to show you how popular it was, right? That he
Yo,
was there.
totally.
You remember the Superman commercials? How
Yes.
popular those were.
And in
you
those
know?
commercials, Superman's voiced by Putty.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
does
That's
the-
right.
He does
Yeah.
the voice.
Well, even those, you remember the Superman episode where he was dating a girl named Lois,
Yes,
and then
yes.
he had the race.
Yes,
He's
that's
like,
the
I was
thing.
faster than a speeding bullet, Lois.
She's like, "You sure do like saying my name." He's like, "I sure do, Lois. I sure do." And that one is great. I just
That
gotta
would
rewatch
probably
that
be
one.
like any of us, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we got like with the Mary Jane or something.
Guys, what about the episode where he's dating the girl that always wears the same dress? When he first sees
Oh,
it,
man.
he loves it. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it always had this big scoop,
Yeah.
and she looked like a superhero." But then he's like, you know, looking around and like saying, and I have to admit, in that episode, I was kind of weirded out too. I was like, why does she wear the same dress? I felt like Jerry. I was like, damn, I hope they reveal it. And of course they don't. You know what I mean? She just breaks up with them.
Well, that became a thing too, right? Like every girl that he met had something wrong with her
Yeah.
that bothered him. You know, you remember Manhand?
Oh yeah, we
Man
talked a
hands.
little bit earlier about man hands.
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
Were they real or fake?
Were they real or fake?
Yeah. The one who doesn't laugh at his jokes and the one who laughs at his jokes.
Yeah.
The one who has
Oh
the
shit,
speed
that's
dial.
so funny.
What a speed dial, remember? He's
Yeah,
like,
the speed
"I'm on
dial,
number
the mom.
8."
Yeah. Oh my god! And that episode, the whole thing that plays out, because that's when Elaine's trying to buy the Hirachi
Yes,
shoes or whatever.
yes.
And it's at Punta Maya or whatever. And then damn Kramer takes the silica packets out. And he's like,
yeah, he puts him in the salsa.
well, they fall out of his sleeve.
Yeah, that's right,
idiot,
man. Yeah, and they disintegrate in there.
Jack, you're here. So what's his name? Is it H.G. Pennypacker? Is that? Did I got that right? What about Joe? What do you feel about Art Vandelay?
Oh, that was the classic too, right? I heard that some people even started using that as a pseudonym when they checked into hotels and stuff like that.
I've heard that too. Celebrities that they always check it under another name. Jack also says Kramer TCB taking care of business. So, I didn't really want to bring it up, right? But I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the kind of controversy stuff with Michael Richards afterwards. I mean, and I don't want to stay on it long, but we can definitely touch on it because we don't want to be like that show that doesn't mention, obviously post Seinfeld.
A lot of them had it pretty hard. I mean, I know Jerry really didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. He did B-Movie, and then he got Comedians in Cars.
But I mean, for a long time, it just didn't seem like he was active. George went into Hollywood.
Yeah.
For a while.
I don't think that Jerry wanted to be active.
Yeah.
The truth is, I think that guy truly did
yeah,
save all his Seinfeld money and is just living off that wealth.
Yeah.
He does do stand up still. I saw him live.
Yeah, but
stand-up.
he wasn't like very active. Like as soon as like Seinfeld ended,
Yeah.
Michael Richards is the one that had like what 1 or 2 shows, and I know Julia Louis-Dreyfus kind of struggled there for a while
until Veep,
and then she.
But yeah, she killed it with
New
Veep.
Adventures of Old Christine. That was
That's
like
right.
another one.
Yeah.
Adventures of Old
That's-
Christine. That was first, but Veep was what she was crushing.
Yeah.
But I mean, she constantly worked afterwards.
Yeah.
I talk about Larry David and his show Curb Your Enthusiasm. And there's if you become a Curb fan, you see a lot of Curb in Seinfeld. As you're watching Curb, you see those same themes. Like you see George get annoyed at the same stuff that you would see Larry David get annoyed at. So I really got to recommend that. Like I know Elaine came out one year, and she talked about like doing a show called Elaine, like by herself. That would be Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but every time she goes out in the world, everyone knows her as fucking Elaine, so she can't get a job as Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I would have fucking paid money to see that.
Yeah, I would definitely watch. And look at her, right? Probably the most successful because she's in the Marvel U now.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like once
Oh,
you're in
yeah.
the Marvel U, you've achieved. Jack says underrated episode is the limo, where George is O'Brien and Jerry Dylan Murphy. That one I don't remember. And again, I'm always in the middle of some type of rewatch with it, so I'm catching a bunch of stuff, and then I'm like not remembering other stuff. So I got to go through like a couple of rounds before I get the whole thing in again.
Yeah, but the Michael Richards thing, obviously he was going back to stand up.
Yeah.
He was considered the funniest.
The
on
funniest,
the show.
right? People love the physical comedy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they said he was so popular at one time they had to tell the audience not to cheer for him so
Right,
long.
right.
He got heckled at his show,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he said racist,
Racial slur.
racial slur.
Probably the worst racial slur.
Yeah, for sure.
And man, that was pretty much
And
it.
that
for
was
him.
it. That was the death knell for him because I don't know if he's really done anything big afterwards.
think so,
I'm
man.
sure he's kept busy. I'm sure here and there, but yeah.
And I think that might have even been pre-cancel culture, but it didn't need to have.
He might have been the first cancel culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I was telling Double A this, Joe, but Luck mentioned it earlier. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, an excellent show for anyone to watch on Netflix too. Again, hosted by Seinfeld. He did have him on, and it had to have because that happened kind of early, like after Seinfeld.
It did.
He's a pretty bold thing by Seinfeld to still have him on or whatever. They don't talk about it much. It kind of gets like briefly mentioned or whatever, but it's just like, I mean, you know, and again, I'm not justifying it at all, but I mean, like, I think the guy was remorseful. You know, he made a mistake, or whatever. You know,
I think he's probably just thinking, you know, it's probably like the 1980s, you know, where you could probably get away from stuff like that. But
yeah. No, it's not, man.
Not when
dude,
these started coming in.
Once it got recorded, it's like, dude, that will live
And
forever. And
yeah,
YouTube,
I gotta imagine people aren't expecting that from Kramer.
No, hell
Right.
no.
Yeah, right.
Hell no.
You know, sometimes I think not even maybe not even Kramer expected that from Kramer. So, Jack says the Nazi sympathizers.
Whoa.
I do remember all
That was that episode, yeah.
George being a communist. Is that what they said? George was a communist.
Yeah.
It's just too many great ones, though, man.
But lots of great moments, though. You know, it's like just so funny with each of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Kramer, you know, tanning with butter.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, the chicken where he's eating. He starts becoming like a big fan of the Kenny Loggins chicken. He's eating it, you know,
When they switch apartments.
Yeah.
Jerry comes in like Kramer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm fried.
He's like, that red light's burning my eyes.
You know, we've discussed multiple George incidents. You know,
Oh, I know.
Golly, that's why I say he's my favorite character by far.
Yeah.
Because he's stupid. He's an asshole. He's all to himself. You know.
And no. Just to say real quick, you know, Joe mentioned them switching apartments. I'm like, what? None of us. We all love each other, but ain't none of us that fucking friendly. We're like, oh, you're having trouble sleeping there. You want me to go sleep there?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
And dude, that scene is gross when Kramer's in the bed. He's got
Yes,
like bones.
he's
He's
greasy.
in Jerry's bed.
He's
and
fucking
greasy.
all greased up.
I'm like,
yeah.
dude,
I always thought that part was gross
I would
too.
be heated up.
Dude,
I'd be like, what the-
Kramer made a salad in the shower.
Dude, that's us. He's like, oh, I made this whole thing, and they're all like, no.
They're all germaphobes.
It's just
Hey,
gross.
but did he make a big salad?
Oh,
You gotta
like I didn't get the credit for the big salad.
You gotta credit for the big
You
salad.
know, we didn't talk about, like, we were talking about it in the car, but we haven't talked about it, but the Bizarro. The Bizarro.
Oh man, that's one of my absolute favorites.
That's just great. That's fucking hilarious.
So Joe, I don't want to rehash on my own episode here, but just to tell you briefly, it's like, you know, Anthony and Jerry had talked about doing a Patreon episode, I think for Tiz, of Seinfeld, right? And Anthony was saying he was like George, and he was like, Jerry, you're Jerry, and Chuck, you're Kramer. And I was like, wait a minute, there is no way that Jerry D is like Jerry Seinfeld. I said, if anything, he's like Bizarro Jerry. I said, Jerry is the least reprehensible of all of us, so he is in no way a Seinfeld character.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the last episode of Seinfeld, right? That's what it was all about, right? Their character and how reprehensible they were.
Yeah, they were,
You know,
truly deplorable,
That's
bad
what I
people.
said. I think after watching it again, I think it's a really good ending.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
the guy, the overweight gentleman, I guess. I don't want to use the word fat, but that's the comedian Ralphie May. He passed away, I think.
Oh.
I think Ralphie May passed away fairly recently, whatever. But he's hilarious in that moment.
And who doesn't love a clip show?
And,
You know,
I didn't even think about that irony, right? Joe Double A. They get in a lot more trouble because it's recorded.
Yeah.
And like, look what happened to Michael Richards.
Yep.
What burned him a lot
Yeah.
was that it was recorded,
Yeah.
which that makes it like national news.
But
know
you
what I
know,
mean? So-
like again, kind of going back to like that Bizarro, that was just funny. You know, the nice Jerry. You know, how she's like she wants to hang out more with them.
yeah,
You know, opening the refrigerator, just start eating. You know, the olives. You know,
Elaine?
they're all reading books. You know?
dude, I don't care what restaurant I go to. If I'm checking in, I'll make a Seinfeld Party of Four reference.
Do you remember even the Bizarro statue? Even as the damn Bizarro
Yeah, he has
statue.
a Bizarro statue. I do remember. I
I
remember
was like,
seeing
what the
that in the
fuck?
background.
I was like, I told my wife, I was like, look at that Bizarro.
I love when she pushes him and then
And he falls hard.
yeah, and then Jean is like, she's like, is there anything I can do? He's like, haven't you done it?
I mean,
yet?"
you don't, you know.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know how to unlock the door. She's like, it's
Yeah,
locked.
because the doors are never locked at Jerry's. Like a lot of that's really tightly written. You know, it's just perfect. And when I noticed the Bizarro statue too, it's just funny to think about. Like, who the fuck is just like a random Bizarro
Right?
fan?
That's
like,
what I was like,
you
what
don't
the
like
hell?
Superman. You're just like Bizarro's your
I
favorite
want
character.
Bizarro.
Joe, you're a DC guy. Do you know any just straight up Bizarro fans?
No, but it's the same thing that you see that are people that are Joker fans, right? They're Joker fans. They don't like Batman and they love the Joker, but they don't know the. I mean, they think they're gonna be in love with the Joker and it'd be like Harley Quinn, but you know,
Hey, if I was
they
out
don't
on
know
the
the backstory.
If I was out on the street with my Superman shirt on and I saw somebody that had the backwards S Superman shirt on, a Bizarro shirt, I would straight up stop and shake that person's hand. I'd be like, that's fucking legit tight. I ain't never seen that shit before. Like a true Bizarro fan. So I love it, man.
I mean, we got to see Bizarro in Superman 3, right?
Yeah. A lot of people say yeah.
And it was a big factor in this recent series, the Superman and Lois series, whatever. I think they did it really well.
And he does make an appearance in Smallville too. He does make a small appearance.
Double A, did you hit all the points you wanted to hit
Pretty
regarding
much,
Seinfeld?
yeah.
Joe, what about you? What are your final thoughts on Seinfeld?
It was the show for me. Like, I don't remember being friends with a lot of people that were fans at the time because I guess we were teenagers and this was more of an adult show.
It was like super popular.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched it. I was there. I probably started with reruns, but caught up to it. And it's one of those shows you can always put on. Like Chuck, you always talk about rewatchability, and you can rewatch Seinfeld any freaking time. It could be on in the background anytime.
That's actually been my Saturday go-to show because on the Comedy Central, they show it in the mornings, like almost from like the morning to the afternoon.
Nice.
And so like when I'm like waking up or making breakfast, I have that on in the background.
Yeah.
You know?
Every night I hop into bed, I put Netflix on, and I just start to watch episodes, and I'm just like laughing out loud, still laughing out loud.
I think it gets funnier as
Yeah.
you get older.
Yeah, my girlfriend Jess, she's just like, she puts her headphones on because she's like, dude, you're like laughing so loud.
You know,
like,
you laugh and you hope that you're just don't feel like any of those characters.
Exactly.
You're like,
exactly.
man, I don't want to be Kramer. I don't want to be George. I
No.
don't want to be Jerry.
It's
I
a
don't want to be
true-
Elaine. Yeah.
Comedy of errors, you know what I mean? Joe, is your wife a fan?
She watches and she likes a little bit of it. Like she'll tolerate it, but she knows it's one of those shows. Like I'll put on after she's asleep, so I can fall asleep to it. I guess.
Yeah. I totally get it. How about the kids?
Like it's a background.
Okay, they're not even into it.
Yeah, the kids know, man. Like it's more of a show.
Yeah.
How do you explain a show about nothing?
Exactly. I think sometimes somebody has to like catch a little bit and find a moment funny to want to see more.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got my dad. I can't remember which episode it was, but something caught him. He thought it was funny, and then he just got reeled in, you know. So, but this again was years ago. So, Joe, I'm gonna let you get out of here. Please plug your show, man, and anything else that you want to plug. I really
Well, guys,
appreciate
like-
you jumping on.
Yeah. Again, I apologize for not being able to be with you guys. But please go watch Luck and I at nowwatchthis.com. And, we're on every available podcast platform out there. Now Watch This. We are back, as we like to say, and we're back.
Hey Joe.
But
Joe,
again-
we gotta have a viewing of Warrior.
Oh, dude. No, I mean, you just want me to cry in front of y'all.
CM Chuck full of tears. I think that would be the highlight of my fucking year right there.
That's every day. Double A.
Oh, you'll cry at this movie big time.
Yeah, Joe, you definitely gotta watch Warrior, brother. It's a great
Yeah.
flick, man. I gotta thank Double A for that.
It's like, put it this way, it's like the story is the front, and the fighting's kind of like the background. It's almost like Rocky 1. You know, where
You know if
Bobby's
it's
kinda
available
the
streaming
background.
anywhere?
HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what Double A had me watching. Yeah, but yeah, man, legit. That would be, I think we could get Double A to guest on and now watch this episode for that, because it was, dude. I was like, I'm glad I watched it alone. So,
Dude, I'm just so like glad Luck said about Prey, because Double A and I had talked about it in the beginning when that show or that movie got released or was gonna get released. Like I'm really into that, man. So if we can all get in on that, that would be awesome.
what I love about Now Watch This is that A, you guys are not live. B, you didn't put the day that you're going to do your show in your name of your show. We did not have that foresight. So I'm often trying to sell people on the fact that no, it's called that because you can do it. It's meant to make you feel like it's just another Friday night, even if we do it on Wednesday or Sunday, whenever you do it. But
It's the thing, man. And I hate to be this guy, but like I was the biggest fan of you guys. Like, I love y'all show. I love chiming in. I like to be the guy on Facebook commenting all night with you guys and staying up till all hours of the night. So I love y'all show. Our show was born out of your show. Thank you guys. So please keep it up. You guys are awesome.
Joe, thank you so much, man, for joining us again. Guys, go check out Now Watch This. Two dork daddies talking about stuff they watch, but they're also talking about life, man, and that's a real fun part of their show.
It hits you more when you start reaching your mid-30s.
Yep,
These
Dude.
movies start hitting you more.
it
More and
absolutely
more.
does. It absolutely does.
We did Sandlot, and there were certain even aspects of Sandlot. Like Sandlot's a comedy,
Yeah.
but there were certain aspects of that hit you in the feels.
I got lost in the 60s, and we never heard from him again. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Or the other one that married the lifeguard and had a shitload of babies. You're like,
Yeah.
you had that friend too that goes off and has a whole family.
Well, too, I think in the beginning, Luck and I were both, I guess, stepkids. So we know that feeling in the beginning where you're just trying to get your stepdad's acceptance or something like that. So it's like it's weird that even at that day and age that Disney or 20th Century Fox would do a movie like that and throw that into a kids movie. But I did like that they had Benny the Jet in there and that he was, a Mexican kid like us.
Yeah.
So fucking go us.
Dude, I saw that movie after everybody was like in love with it or whatever. It took me a while to watch it, and I was
Sorry
like,
about
dude,
that.
I was blown away by it. I was like, man, it's a great,
It's
hilarious
almost
movie.
it's become almost like a passage
Yeah.
right, to see that movie for kind of people like us.
Dude.
But
and again,
thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah,
I love y'all show. Cheers. Thank you. I can't wait to be in person with you guys again.
Absolutely, man.
So, thank
Either
you.
us there with y'all or you here, bro. All right, Joe. We'll talk to you later, man. Have a good night.
Again. Thank you guys. Later.
Bye.
Jack comes in and he goes, before you guys sign off, let's not forget George's most deplorable moment, pushing the grandma down in the fire episode. It was an inferno in there, an inferno. Yeah, we talked about it, man. It's just like I said, that's why he's my favorite character. So many of the funny moments from Seinfeld are with George.
Yeah. I love his excuse too, right? I was going to go get
Yeah.
help. I was going to get help.
What bullshit. That dude was, man, he's just...
Dude, well, and again, thank you, Jack, for bringing it back to Seinfeld. But it's like me and my dad always talk about it all the time. I always tell, I said, oh, you're a portly fellow. Your mistress is the cocoa bean. He's like, which one is it, Nestle Quick? And it's like, so my dad will always go, Bosco, because this son of a bitch doesn't want to give up his ATM number to save that guy. They're like, come on, man, give me the number. He's like, kind of thinking about it. I'm like, dude, the fucking life, his life is in the balance. Yeah. You know, he's just, you know, such an asshole. Or whatever. When he follows the couple that's having the baby, because he's like, what about soda? Soda's a great name. They're like, no, George, we're going with 7. He's like, please, I have so little. Like, she's fucking going in labor. Like, I'm like, man, what a dickhead, man. And a fire, you say low to the ground, am I right? Yeah, absolutely, low to the ground.
There's an episode too, where he, for some reason, fucking George joins a book club, and they're supposed to read Breakfast at Tiffany's. And he doesn't want to fucking read it. He keeps reading something else, so he tries going to rent it. And he finds out who rented the movie, and he stays with the family, and he watches the movie, and then the wife comes in, and he's like, hey, I'm trying to watch a movie. Yeah. You know, like, he's at some other person's house that he doesn't even know, and he's trying to tell them, you know, hey, some popcorn would be nice.
Yeah, popcorn would be nice. And then the seat, the little girl switches the seat, and he's like, what are you doing? You're in my seat. I was sitting there. You saw it. I'm like, and he tries to, like, squeeze in. I'm like, this is not your house, you fucking asshole. Like, it's the worst. I remember watching that being like, dude, like, you're, like, ashamed for George. You're like, you're the worst.
And then that same episode, the double dip episode, so the chick can't hear on her fucking right side, but he wants to sit on the left side, I think. Yeah. And he can't.
Because he can't make his move.
He can't make his move. So he's like, he pushes her out of the way to get her out. Like, he doesn't, like, rough. He gets her out of the way so he can sit on the side where he needs to be.
I don't know. How about later when he writes Jerry's notes on his fucking hand or whatever? She's like, what are you doing down there? She's like, what is this, notes? Yeah, she's like, I'm like, man, what a fucking scumbag. Man. You're the fucking worst, George.
He is. And then Jack says, yes, in that later episode, he tries to prove he has black friends by going back to their house.
And he takes the janitor with him, right? To go see what's his name at the restaurant. He's like, oh, this is my lawn. He goes, hey, when you see him, act like we're old friends. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, that's why I said that's why he's my favorite character. He's just an asshole. He knows it, and he doesn't try to change.
Truly the worst. Jack, while you're still here with us, do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? Are you a fan of it at all? Because again, there's a lot of Seinfeld-ness in that show, but obviously you have one of the co-creators doing his own show, and again, it's like without a filter because it's on HBO Max or HBO. But I'm just curious if you liked it or didn't like it. But any other final thoughts, Double A? You want to
real quick? Did he ever say why he did Curb Your Enthusiasm? Did he feel like he had more?
I don't know. I would imagine that they were all probably getting approached after that. You know what I mean? Like, really? You know, like for stuff.
Well, because I mean, for a while that was like the most successful.
Well, because Seinfeld had always said he was like when he was done with it, he was done with it. He didn't really want to ever be. He loved stand up. He loves stand up. He is also, from what I've read from other stand up kids, he's like regarded and lauded as like one of the best stand ups. The delivery, all this stuff. You know, he does like clean comedy too. Like there's no cursing in it. So, yeah. Okay. And I've seen him live at the Majestic. And he was amazing. Okay. Yeah. Me and my dad went, which was cool because we were such big fans. Okay. And at the end, he even did a Q&A. He let people ask him questions, which was really cool. And like
anything interesting.
At that time, no, nothing interesting.
Just typical, probably Seinfeld questions.
Yeah, Seinfeld stuff. And he was so sharp. You got to be sharp when you just open yourself up to everybody. Right. And he is like, one of the sharpest.
All decades of doing that, yeah.
Yeah. And again, I want to give him all the props for Comedian in Cars. I watched that entire series. It's fantastic. They're like 15-minute episodes. And he
had Obama on there, right?
He had Obama on there. Yeah, he had a who's who. Alec Baldwin twice.
Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, Christoph Waltz. Is Christoph Waltz on there?
Nice.
Yeah, he has. Nice. Everyone. My sister just started watching it, and I said, "Dude, you're in for a treat." Like it is. That's a show I would go back and rewatch easily. So, Jack, did you
he goes, honestly, I've only seen part of an episode. I'll need to check it out.
Yeah, Jack, definitely check out. I think it might be. I know Joe said I think season 10, but I think it's actually season 7, and it heavily revolves around like a Seinfeld reunion, and it does almost really feel like a whole other season of Seinfeld. It's on HBO Max. I was trying to remember where it was streaming, but Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO Max. Yeah, it's an HBO show. Anything else though, Double A? Do you want to say?
No, it's just it was super funny, and again, I'm kind of glad I saw it. Kind of like when I got into my 30s, I think it hit me harder probably than what I've seen it. If I would have seen it, maybe in the 2000s, it's got me like seriously. Like I laughed pretty hard at a lot of those, moments. I just laugh hard. Maybe just us being older, kind of being in those kind of jobs. You had an office job. I've been in an office, and the kind of cast of characters that are around us, it's like it makes you laugh sometimes,
Yeah, dude, when I see stuff with like Kramer and Mickey, Kramer and Newman, like those parts are just funny on their own, like it's written out.
And I love it too because I can't identify with any of them, and I hope I don't identify with any of them. I'm not a George, I'm not a Seinfeld, I'm not a Elaine, I'm not a Kramer, I'm not even a Newman.
Dude, if you ever get a chance, Double A, here in town, go eat at Max and Louis. Have you ever ate at Max and Louis? Max and Louis. It's like 281 and like Embassy.
Okay.
It's not there by like where Andy lives from Deuces, Mercado. We go there, right? I forget who I first went there with, whatever, right? But it's like New York deli style food or whatever. You can get like a bagel with like salmon and all that stuff. Well, they also have a big display case with like fresh bagels and all that stuff, right? And in there they have the black and white cookie. I took my dad because I wanted him to see how that. So my dad saw that, he ordered it. He was like, going off about look to the cookie. And then sure enough he ate it and I said, Dad, how was it? He was like, oh man, it sucked. And I told him black and white not getting along, like it's just I don't know if they have marble rye or babka, but they have bagels. It's a real New York style place. I would suggest anyone go there. Actually, delicious food. The menu is extensive.
I mean the dialogue is great. Pay attention, like really pay attention, because like there's a lot of things my wife never picked up that I'm like I started laughing hard. I'm like, did you hear that? It was like those kind of moments, like, did you hear what he just said, or did you hear what she just said? And I'll rewind it, and she'll be like, oh wow, like she'll be laughing hard. Again, like I said, my favorite character is like George, then it's Elaine, and probably either Kramer or Seinfeld. I can't really decide who would be the next one. The episodes, you can dive into any of them and not even follow. You can just see one and just get into it real quick. The early seasons, they're still funny. I do enjoy the early episodes, but it does get better. It's weird. The show actually does get better as it gets more into the seasons.
I mean, just watching the Elaine character, like we said, right? She truly grows.
Because it's funny, because for a long time, like, I used to really love the later seasons of Married with Children. But as I got older, I've really kind of liked the first 3 seasons more than the Jefferson season. I really like the Steve episodes now more.
Wow.
Because, I don't know, Al just seems funnier when he's like the real blue collar worker. Then where all the adventures kind of go off later with Jefferson and all of them. It's really funny. Those first like 3 seasons are super
a little bit more grounded in reality.
Yeah, they're really fucking funny. Like I was like really like digging into Peg in those episodes, like hard, like real hard.
Now that's the show we'd love to definitely touch on.
And Jack will definitely be on that one.
I would need a rewatch.
I got the season, so
I remember it a lot, but I would definitely need
because those early ones. If you ever get a chance, just check out like the Steve episodes. And they're fucking funny. Like the crowd, you can hear where they're like laughing super hard. They're like really laughing hard.
That's cool about the studio audience. I don't think that's really done anymore. People don't
Not
do
too
studio
much.
audience.
No.
Well, because you can get. It could be a distraction, I would imagine. And what if they're not laughing?
And it was for like Married with Children. It's like when like towards the end, like when Kelly would come in, and her like response is like loud,
and you can tell because the characters aren't talking. They're waiting. Yeah,
they're waiting for it to die down.
So,
or like when Al would come in, man, they would be like, you hear all the crowd, ow. It's like
Jack says, "I'm with you, Double A."
But stuff. It's like Seinfeld was really good. Like it got funnier. Like I said, these characters you just don't sympathize with. They ruin people's lives. They ruin people's businesses, and they
ruin their own lives.
And they ruin their own lives.
They're like the most self-deprecating people.
And they don't care. They don't. It's like, and they all still stick to each other. They orbit around themselves.
Yeah.
It's a funny fucking show. It's another one of those that again, I heard so many times it was stupid. It was blah blah blah, and yada yada yada,
Yada, yada, yada.
And I had to do it for myself. I had to see for myself, and I enjoy it. I'm probably the only one besides CM that I can think of. Maybe in our family, just family, not friends, family that probably likes Seinfeld.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's as close to it in my family as me, but the next person would probably be my dad. And then
that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like
convinced my sister to watch episodes, and she loves it. She thinks it's a funny show.
Well, it's like
my mom has seen a few. She thinks it's funny.
Yeah, it's like I told you, it's weird. It's like my brother's just, I listened to them so much in the '90s, obviously because I'm the little brother.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, they're telling me it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Not knowing that. When I actually watched it, hey, this is actually pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Or hey, I like that dude, or I like that chick.
Yeah.
I was like, golly, I had to find out a lot of the stuff on my own.
I have to admit too, some of the early hooks for me probably were seeing those. It's like, oh, he has a Superman statue, Superman magnet, I think, on the fridge.
Yeah.
He eats cereal like I used to. Then I was like catching little things, and then of course when you're watching little things, then you start to see the story, the plot of an episode unfold.
Yeah.
And like you said, for the longest time, wherever it was I started watching, I remember thinking like, oh, I eventually want to one day go back and watch the episodes where Jerry and Elaine are together, only to find out that I was like, oh, that never happened.
That happened already.
It had already happened. Yeah. Which is cool. The whole episode with where Elaine is Susie, and she thinks her name is Susie, and she's like, it's not Suze, it's Susie, all right? Like she just plays into it, and they have that fucking whole funeral for her because she tells them she took her own life. Yeah. She could have said anything. She left out her. She's like, "Oh, Susie took her own life," and then it's like, so fucking Jerry's telling the one woman that had it wrong. He's like, "Hey, I slept with her. Like, I slept with her too."
I think this is the last comment for you, Sam.
I need Chuckles to be in my videos. That sounds like Andrew Edward Benitez, a.k.a. Nene, a.k.a. Angel.
Yeah, the rock star,
I believe
superstar.
At last count, 1.6 million followers on TikTok, you guys. That is fucking amazing. Nene, you don't need me in your videos. We need you in our videos.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get to 1.6 million, just like you, brother. All the kudos and congratulations in the world, my friend. Shit, I need a fresh beer to do that.
Jackson and Jay Peterman said he slept with Susie, too.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man. Great shit. Yeah, man. Again, it'll always be in one of my top shows. I rank it probably maybe like only behind The Simpsons, like The Simpsons, and then this show.
Wow. I thought X-Files was one of your top
X-Files is definitely up there. Game of Thrones is definitely up there. But again, not a lot of stuff makes me laugh, like really laugh. You know what I mean? I love Futurama too, but I mean, like, definitely like if I narrowed it down more like to comedy. If I was to do my Mount Rushmore of comedy shows, it would probably be like like Simpsons, Seinfeld. I probably would put Futurama on there. I'd be hard pressed to find a fourth. I definitely know Married with Children would be on yours.
Oh, yeah.
Would Seinfeld be up there?
It's getting there more and more.
Yeah. Do you count MASH as a comedy?
Yeah.
It's primarily comedy, right?
No, you know what? No.
It wouldn't be on
the first three. No, the first three are kind of comedy, but the later seasons get really deep.
Okay.
Really, really deep. There's like two kind of like sections. It's kind of like I forget the producer's name. They usually call that era, and then it's like the Alan Alda era, and it's totally different.
Oh, I think I've only ever seen
different.
episodes that have Alan Alda.
Well, no. Like when he takes over.
Oh, he took over. Oh, really?
More and more.
He did behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah, he started writing, he started directing and producing, and it's a totally different era. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I've seen quite a bit of it, and I love it. I always found MASH hilarious.
It's funny, but it's more black comedy. I wouldn't say it's like like a Big Bang. I wouldn't say it's Seinfeld. I wouldn't say it's Married with Children. No.
Yeah, definitely some darker stuff in there. Facebook user says, I'll go to your show as Angel if you want me to. Chuckles, you've been a homeboy and helped me out in the past. So you let me know when you want Angel there. I don't know, bro. I think I want Nene here more than I want Angel here. Angel's a lot to handle, man. Angel's too wild, man. I'm waiting for him to finally give in to Michael Myers and then make the love connection they need. But dude, again, so happy for you and all your success. And you know what you and Jerry have done together too has been excellent. But man, you're killing the game, bro. I'm super proud of you. And go out there, guys, and like them TikToks, man. I don't even know.
We don't even need to promote.
You didn't even need to promote them, man. 1.6 million crowd at Traders Village. I mean, dude,
that was crazy.
Yeah, dude, you and the kids, that was great shit, man. So Continued success, bro. You know, when you want to get on here and cut a real interview for San Antonio and talk about how you created these characters, how you started, how we met, I'm there because we want to be the first ones to have that exclusive interview, the Andrew Edward Benitez interview that nobody has. No characters, real hard hitting investigative reporting right there, right? Double A. So yeah, man.
Have you ever seen Friends though? Like, have you ever actually seen some of it? It's pretty damn
I
funny.
watched a good chunk of it for a while. Yeah, I know there was stuff I liked.
Honestly, I can see why Jennifer Aniston did break out.
Yeah.
More than all of them.
Yeah.
You know, her character, I was like, man, she is pretty fucking funny.
She's a foxiest too.
Well, that too, but she is funny. She is fucking hilarious.
I got into the Ross Rachel stuff. Like I was like, oh, this is like
I actually like the seasons where they are not really together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I do remember watching it quite a bit and thinking that it was funny and thinking like.
And Matthew Perry was probably my favorite of the three dudes.
Yeah. He has a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
He's one of the characters I probably related to most.
Yeah.
Even the Lisa Kudrow stuff, I thought I was like, oh, okay, she's it's overtly.
And they had a shitload of guest stars that you're just like,
oh yeah,
wow, you know?
I definitely
like
remember
them
that.
and Seinfeld were definitely getting the. Well, Seinfeld got them like before they were even like superstars. Like you see them and you're like, oh wow, this is like way before this. This is way before that. This is way before that.
I think they were
shit.
in that Must See TV thing, right? Like they're all
big
part
time.
of that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, I think number 1 is MASH for like the series finale. Number 2 is Cheers. Number 3 is Seinfeld, and I think number 4 is Friends.
Oh wow!
As like the highest rated series finales ever.
Damn, that's awesome, man.
You know, so I mean.
Yeah, I know I got out of Friends before all that, before it finished. So it was like I didn't.
It finished in 01, so it kind of lasted a little bit long. Well, no, it lasted about the same. Well, it was like 8 and 8. I think they both had 8 seasons.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you what happened in the final episode or whatever. But
they got back together.
Yeah, well, I remember them being like him wanting her, then them getting together, and then them breaking up. And I remember, I was just like, I fell out of it. But yeah, excuse me. Last week when Double A saw me with my Thor shirt, he was like, man, you fucking really do have a shirt for everything. So when he said this, I was like, I got the shirt for this. So maybe Double A is right. And next time I think that we need to think of an episode, I'll just look at my shirt drawer and be like, you know what? I have a shirt for this or whatever. So I got some shirts for shit we definitely have it covered.
Wow, I'm like a big fan. Like I'm like probably I'm a way bigger Thor fan than TM, but yeah, he has a fucking shirt. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, but Double A also has his first appearance in comics, which is like.
Yeah, but I'm like, man, I don't have shit to wear about Thor.
I'll give you both my T-shirts, Double A, for that Thor first appearance right there.
That was a birthday gift. I didn't buy that. That was a birthday gift.
Nothing tops that. Well, my T-shirt collection may be far beyond Double A's. His comic book collection kicks mine's ass, no doubt. But yeah, man, when I love something, I commit to it. So it's like, me buying Seinfeld merch and I love it. If I can find the right thing for it, I'm like, I want to get that.
I was all there for it. Yeah.
So again, I love Seinfeld, man. It may be on my Mount Rushmore of shows.
It has to be. That's what I had known you for so long. Was that one and the X-Files for so long?
Yeah, and I felt like I was like in the weeds. I was like, damn, I'm like out here by myself sometimes.
Yeah, it seemed like
I want to talk about that stuff with. Damn, we should do the X-Files, man. We got to get the Green Mountain Santa on there, Matt. He's come on to the podcast. He does a whole X-Files show.
Really?
In his show, he's watching it with a buddy that's never seen it. So they cover the episodes as the guy watches them.
I was going through it again because I think it's on Hulu. I think they have it on Hulu. And me and my wife saw like the first 6 or 7 episodes. And I was kind of like, wow, these are really, really great episodes. Like,
fantastic.
It holds up really well. They're still really greatly written. And the acting is really good too. I was like, I really enjoyed this. I was kind of like, man, it's gonna suck when we get to the part where they get together because I'm really enjoying them just being like just the partners.
Yeah.
I was kind of like,
Yeah, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, they're fantastic. And when she's the real hardcore skeptic, and there's like this. Him trying to kind of, there's no like romance really between them.
But the stories are really good too. I'm like, man, those stories are really, really good.
The one I always think of in my mind is the one where the veterans can't sleep, and like that one guy, like he's like, just kill me already because like I want to rest. Like when I can't sleep, I always think of that episode. I'm like, fuck, I feel like the fucking guy, man.
That's
So
terrible.
my sister's doing a rewatch. I think she's up to like the Robert Patrick
and like I
episodes
said,
already.
they still really hold up really well. Like
Yeah.
when you see that first season, you're like, wow, this is actually really damn good.
I've yet to see that latest season that came out. That was like a few years back.
Yeah.
And I would like to see it just to wrap it all up. So I remember recently with my sister and her rewatch, she was like, "Bro, like what happened?" She was like, "This season." Then they started talking about this, and I said, "Oh, you didn't watch the movie?"
The movies.
And she's like, "There's movies." I said, "Yeah, there's 2 movies." And I said, "You got to watch one."
Wow, so
it
they
leads
still
right
kind of
into it.
connect to those.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I told her, I said,
okay.
"No, you have to watch that movie in between those because that's like it came out like in the summer when they were on break."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, it like directly ties in." And she was like, "What the fuck? I didn't know there was movies." And I was like, "Yeah." So 2 of them, yeah. And I think I think she's at the Robert Patrick episodes, which I'm like, "Ooh, you're in for a ride." I was like,
Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't know if I've seen all those. Like after he left, I was kind of like, "What the fuck," you know? You're really in it for that, and they fucked up some stuff too. Like the sister plot was like, you know, that was like a good thing they had going, and they kind of like resolved that.
I guess that's when you just go on too long. You know, I think that's why more and more shows that you see coming out, they're only doing like 3-5 seasons, and that's it. It's like, no, that's it. That's all we want to tell. You know.
Yeah, and it sucks because you leave the fans wanting more, but then you're like, man, if you try to draw it out,
Yeah,
you know, you've always said that about Supernatural, and you're a big fan.
Smallville is actually the one where I was like, okay, they need to already like cancel. Like I was saying that like at season 7.
Oh wow.
You know, they went on to like 10 seasons, but
5 more seasons.
But when it got good, it was like around season 8 when they started putting more of the mythology in there. That's when I was kind of like, okay, now you got me back because now you're finally starting to embrace all that Superman shit now.
When you're dragging a story out, you're leaving tidbits of a payoff. But if you never pay off, you know what I mean?
See, the thing with Smallville is that they were trying too hard not to put Superman, and I was kind of like, okay, you already limited yourself when you called it Smallville.
Yeah.
And you limited it when you said no flights, no tights. I was like, okay, you just put yourself in a bad corner.
Yeah.
Because you're introducing all these characters, but you're leaving him as Clark Kent.
And
it's
really,
kind of like, come on.
But what gets you watching and brings you back and keeps you invested is the fact that you're looking for those little nuggets.
Yes, you are.
Like, oh shit, he's bulletproof. Oh shit, he's got super speed. Oh shit, he can do.
But see, that all happened like between season 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So that was still exciting.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when you go 6, 7, 8, you're like, and maybe they should have already done away with this show already, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it didn't get good again until they started putting in those mythos again. It's kind of like, come on.
Again,
you know,
it's like there's a little bit, you're leading us along, but there's got to be like an eventual type of payoff. You know?
It was too much for a while. I was kind of like, ooh.
See, I felt like that too. Like with the X-Files, they had drug out the whole his sister abducted thing, and I was like, that was like cool. I was like, oh wow, that's fucking crazy, right? Like, you know, and he's like, oh, he's not going to give up. So that determination in him kept it going. And then you have this partner that's a skeptic. That was like a very like tantalizing.
It was cool, especially
formula.
when the stuff was like coming out, like what Mulder was saying was true, and you're like,
Yes.
oh wow,
yes.
You know, like I was watching one where they lost like a few hours of time, and she couldn't explain it.
Yeah,
she was like, what the hell happened? You know, or they were like in a military base and they were experimenting on people, and they pretty much told them to leave and don't come back. You know, and you're like, okay, how do you explain that? Like I was going to Christina, I was like, okay, how is Scully gonna explain that in her fucking report? Like she's seeing it, it's happening. You know, I was like, how is she gonna fucking explain all that?
And she'd have to give those reports to Skinner,
yes.
and he was always kind of like, what did he say?
But it's kind of like, you're seeing it, you know? I was like, golly.
And she was meant to be their straight arrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know how to fucking, what are you
how
gonna
do you
say?
explain that? You know, so, I mean, yeah, and you know, if Seinfeld, if that was his plan, you know, like, you know, okay, we already done it, you know, I can't think of any more episodes. Okay, fucking, let's just end it, you know? Fine, cool.
Or just even the idea, the foresight to have like, I have an end in mind. You know what I mean? Like a lot of shows don't do that. It's
like I said, you know, if Eric Kripke, if they had really cut Supernatural off at season 5, I would have been like, man, that's probably one of the greatest shows ever. You know, that whole story arc from 1 to 5. Season 5 closes everything up from season 1. Like he wrapped it up in a great fucking bow. You know, I was like, wow, that was a great story arc. That was a great 5-season story arc. You know. And I was like, damn. That was probably like the best episodes, you know, of Supernatural. Their 15-year history, season 1 through 5 was probably like the best. Period, you know? It's
what sucks about a show, right? It's because like you start to feel for these characters and then you're thinking to yourself, like, man, well, I know their story continues. What happens to them next?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I hope we get that Jon Snow show with you know, with Game of Thrones. It's like, because that's a character to me that I was like, well, what else happens, you know?
But, you know, with that one, though, they keep giving me, like, the shows I don't really care to see. I want to see Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah,
That's the one I want to fucking see.
Yeah, that would have been very cool.
Like, come on.
That's a great idea.
You know, like, prequel Game of Thrones. I want to see Robert. I want to see a fit Robert. I want to see Rhaegar. You know, I want to see Ned. I want to see that rebellion, him getting the houses together. You know, like, he stole my... He kidnapped my wife. He raped my wife. You know, like
I want to see that. You always wanted an anthology Walking Dead shit, and now you're getting it. So now you spoke it to the world about Robert's Rebellion. So Game of Thrones producers, you heard it here first. Get this man.
Hurry up,
Robert's Rebellion. I got nothing else on Seinfeld.
No man, it's funny. It's on Netflix. Stream them. They're 22 minutes. They're gonna go by super quick. You can see like 3 episodes in like an hour, maybe 4. Right? I mean. In Comedy Central, it's on Comedy Central, so you can watch it on Saturday mornings. Hopefully, you don't identify with these characters. That's like the thing we keep going on and on about is like, hopefully, you're not one of these deplorable characters.
Yeah, you're definitely laughing at them and not with them.
Hopefully, you're like, man, that's me. I'm Kramer, or man, that's me. I'm George. You know,
don't start a fund for just yourself. A human fund, money for people.
Hey, we didn't even talk about the JFK. I mean, that was like so famous that you know, the spitball, you know, of how it got to Newman and Kramer. Remember they're doing the JFK reenactment.
Yes,
How was it 1 or 2? You know, we didn't even talk about that. That's like one of the most famous scenes in Seinfeld.
Or the fucking clubs, the JFK clubs that she bids on, Elaine bids on, and they end up getting thrown by the guy who later would be like Ray Romano's brother in that.
That's right. Yes.
But yeah, when you know she overbids because of Sue Ellen Mishke. We didn't even talk about Sue Ellen Mishke with her bra. But yeah, then he ends up fucking throwing the clubs at Kramer's when he's delivering the damn bottles. You know what I mean? It's like.
So, I mean, there's just too many great moments, too many. And like I said, it's kind of like you kind of don't remember the episodes because there's just like so many storylines that's going on in one episode. But they're funny, they're really great, and they all get about equal timing. What did she say? Sam? Like, I mean, you can get invested in any of the 4 major characters.
Absolutely.
Really easy.
It goes fast, and it's like there's like you said, multiple plots.
And you're going to catch so much stuff that you're like, man, that was fucking funny. That's really funny. You know?
Yeah. Even if like 2 of the characters are with each other and the other 2 are with each other and they don't interact at all, it's like they're still like, they've got like... stuff going on that makes it hilarious, you know? So...
but that's it.
Guys, Seinfeld on Netflix. If you haven't ever seen it, go check it out. One of our favorite shows, undoubtedly, would be on the Just Another Friday Night. Probably Mount Rushmore of comedic shows, no doubt. But it'll cover a lot of comedy shows. This might be one of.
This might be our first one that we
our first one.
Like comedy, not Marvel.
Full commitment, yeah. But definitely, we said it earlier, a part of pop culture because it influenced so many stuff that's said today. Yada yada, the contest, shrinkage, double dip. You know, double dipping. You know what I mean? That it's all there. The soup Nazi. You know, if you got to know him. I want to say a huge thanks to Joe and Lucky for popping in tonight. Go check out their podcast. Now watch this. Now watch this podcast anywhere podcasts are available. They just dropped 2 great episodes. The most recent one of them watching The Sandlot, and then we heard it here first. The next one's going to be Cheech and Chong coming out. Thank you to Jack for being here for the long run. A huge Seinfeld fan, hanging in there. Jerry D that popped in. All the Friday Nighters and all the Friday Night Faithful. We really appreciate you guys. So yada yada yada. That's the end of the show. All right, guys, we'll catch you next week and see what's next. But before I do go, shit, I almost forgot, right? We don't want to yada yada the end, right? 2 things we always like to say at the end of every show. One is that if there's something that you want to do, a hope, a dream, something that you want to accomplish, go out and do it. Seize the day. I don't know that these folks seize the day.
They try it, though. They try to.
Unless it's for their own benefit, they're seizing the day. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, Kramer being on Murphy Brown, the pretzels are making him thirsty, you know. When he goes to L.A. to try to get away because he's pissed off with Jerry, you know what I mean? So, Yeah, these folks seize the day in the worst way, but seize the day in your own way, do the right thing, hopefully. And also from the great Captain America, Endgame reminds his team, the Avengers, that we got to do whatever it takes.
And George does that.
Yeah, when George's got to get out of a burning apartment, he definitely does whatever it takes. So, guys, seize the day, do whatever it takes. We're just another Friday night. I'm CM Chuck.
I'm Double A.
Guys, we'll catch you next week. Good night. I wish we had a cool bass line right here.